22-year-old student Lindsay Gilbert is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old sales rep Tim George, for 2 suits he charged on her credit card.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 203 on the calendar in the matter of Gilbert versus George. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Gilbert, it is your claim that the defendant, with whom you lived for a period of time, owes you some money for charges that you allowed him to put on your credit card.
That's correct.
When did you live with the defendant?
We actually didn't live together. We were in a relationship for almost a year, beginning of September of last year.
And you say you never lived together?
No.
Just a second. I'll get to you in a minute. Did he ever stay in your home?
He did.
Who else lives in your home?
My daughter.
How old is she?
She's going to be 2 in October.
And when he stayed over in your home, did he ever stay over in your home for more than a day or 2 at a time?
Yes, he did. Sometimes it was, he was in and out of homes at the beginning of our relationship, so he stayed sometimes.
So he didn't have another permanent apartment when you first met?
That's correct.
I
stayed with his sister and me and some of his friends, different friends.
Okay. Now, at what point did you allow him to use your credit card?
After about 5 months of our relationship, we began talking seriously, and in February, the end of February of this year, he was working on a promotion and he needed to be more presentable, and because he has bad credit, he wasn't able to get any suits or anything, and I had good credit. And so he asked me to loan him some money so that he could buy suits.
And you have a credit card?
Yes, I do.
You have the February or March bill from 2001 with his purchase on it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
Okay. Here's the February and March.
Thank you. There's one bill here that's underlined, March 9th, Junior Denim. What is that?
I believe the one underlined, is it Junior Denim? That would be my shorts.
Okay, so that's your bill?
Yes.
And all the rest of his, the polo stuff, ties?
Yes.
Did he pay anything towards the bill?
He paid one. The receipt is attached to the February bill. He paid in the amount of $60 in cash. And in the final arrangements of our relationship, it ended the 26th of May. We were meeting, talking about the bill at his sister's house, and he pushed me around and pulled my hair and stuff, and
stopped paying.
That's not true. If you can see, I have a restraining order against the defendant. I mean, against the plaintiff.
I've got police reports.
Okay, I don't need to look at the police report. We're not about police report. We're about shoes and ties and shirts. Okay, Mr. George, let's hear your version.
My version is I live in my apartment with my 2 best friends, Miles and Marshall.
I want you to listen to me.
Sorry?
I want you to look at me and speak slowly.
Okay.
You lived in your apartment.
Right, with my 2 best friends, Miles and Marshall. We had a nice place. When I met Lindsay, it was the first of, let me think, must have been right after we got back from Phoenix. We went to Phoenix for...
I don't care why you went to Phoenix.
For New Year's, so it was right after New Year's.
I don't care.
January. It was in January, okay? So we got back. We got a place together, okay? I moved out with them two, you know, and we got a place together.
You mean she moved out of her old apartment?
No, she moved out of her mom or her grandma's house, and I moved out of Miles and Marshall's. You know, we all 3 lived together. They got another apartment. I went and moved in with her. I moved in with her.
Yes.
We lived together, and I work full-time, about 50, 60 hours a week sometimes.
Yes.
She would take me to and from work, drop me off, pick me up from work most every day.
Okay.
I would just sign my paychecks over to her because we were, you know, talking about, you know, being serious enough to get married.
How much were your paychecks?
My paychecks, I bring home about almost $2,000 every 2 weeks.
That was also untrue.
Just a second. So your defense to this action is that you paid for this by turning over your paychecks to her.
Of course.
Is that right?
My thing is I let her
me.
take care of the bills.
Show me.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I moved from Albuquerque to Phoenix, and when this case came up, I'm already living in Phoenix, so I go to the HR department at my job, and I asked them, can I get some copies of those checks where it was signed over to Lindsay Gilbert? And then they said, you know what, we can't do that for you because there's just not enough time to do that. It's a very big corporation.
He did not sign checks over to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lindsay Gilbert says ex-boyfriend Tim George charged clothes on her credit card. Lindsay says she wants to be repaid.
You have the capability, Mr. George, only you, of getting proof of your defense, which is that you signed checks over to her.
Right, and
Even if I believed you, sir, as of the time you separated in May, there was still an outstanding balance on this account.
I can't tell you what to do with the money that I gave her.
And it is clear that
It's clear you have no
I'm
idea.
speaking. I didn't hear what he said. Do I want to hear?
I can say it again if you want.
Do I want to hear what he said? Why don't you go have a talk with him, Bert?
Okay.
Find out what kind of medication he's on.
What kind are you on?
Judgment for the plaintiff
You know what
in
you
the
need to
amount
do
of
right here?
$1,093.17.
You understand?
And you're just lucky, sir, that I'm not sending you out to be tested. Because either you are drunk,
Look like I'm playing.
high, or stupid. Pick one. That's all.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
Whenever we were together, I moved out of her house because she was real violent.
Not true.
I've always wanted to get up there and tell Judge Judy what I thought, so today I got to do it.
Never, ever trust a guy with my money.
And now the next case.
All parties on Terrell versus Marlowe. Step forward, please.
64-year-old Mildred Terrell is suing her ex-granddaughter-in-law, 24-year-old daycare worker Love Marlowe, for destroying her furniture.
Miss Terrell, according to your complaint, the defendant married your grandson. Is that right?
Yes.
And there came a time when they were having difficulty paying rent, so you all decided to rent a place together. And you moved in to the place with them.
Yes.
And when you moved into this new place, according to you, you brought some furniture with you.
I brought everything.
All your furniture.
All my furniture, all the dishes, everything in the house was mine.
And then there came a time when your grandson left the defendant.
I moved out before then because of trouble that was going on. And as soon as he was able to take care, he had had surgery on his shoulder, and as soon as he was capable of taking care of the baby, I did move.
They have a baby.
Yes.
How old is the baby?
18 months.
And when you moved out, did you take your things with you?
Only thing I took with me was my bed, an end table, and a chair, and my TV, and a few dishes, and a couple of pants. That's all I took. I didn't want to take everything and leave them with an empty house, because that's what it would have been. Sheets and everything were mine.
And when did your grandson leave?
They were having trouble with the house, not only the rent, but other personal problems they were having. They moved out into their apartment, and they were there, I'd say,
Now, when
2
they
months.
moved out and went into this yet another rental property, did they take all the things with them?
Yes, I told them they could borrow until they got their own.
What did they take with them?
They took my couch. I have a list here, Your Honor.
Let me take a look at
Thank
the
you.
list. VCR, a couch, a lazy boy recliner, vacuum cleaner, some VHS movies, a rug, 3 end tables, a coffee table, a king-size bed, and miscellaneous stuff, linens and dishes, a dresser, those things you said they could take with them. And when did your grandson leave?
Right around the first week in January.
And where did he go? Do you know?
He came to my apartment, was there 3 or 4 days until the harassment got so bad by Love Marlowe and her family that he went to his mother's. And then he was there a while.
And where was the baby?
With him.
Where is the baby now?
With me.
She has temporary joint conservatorship of him now.
Now, when he left and came back to you for a short period of time, did he bring any of these items?
No, he didn't get out of the house with anything but the clothes on his back.
And the baby?
She took his socks, his underwear, she kept everything.
Okay. All right.
And Your
So
Honor,
what's your suit? Just a second.
And one of the times when she was there,
No.
I had a criminal trespass.
How long was your great-grandson with your grandson? Until when?
April 23rd.
Is that when a court granted you temporary conservatorship of the boy?
Yes, ma'am.
And how often does your husband see the boy?
Every other weekend.
Okay. Now, tell me what happened with all this property.
Okay, well, when we lived in Cleveland, Texas, when she lived with us,
We lived together.
Don't interrupt her.
we did not get along because
I don't care why you didn't get along. I'm asking you what happened to the property.
she moved out. She left it all there, said she didn't want it, you know, we could have it. Well, of course, you know, we took everything that was in the house to our apartment because it was given to us, it was ours. Then we and Andy were not getting along, so he went to his grandma's. Well, I went over there and he told me he was going to take off with my son, that I was never going to see my son again. So I went to go get a lawyer. I came back. He told me that I could come in to see Josh in her house. So I did. As soon as I went into the apartment to go see my son, she was standing out there and she waved the cops over as soon as I walked in. Well, the only thing that I wanted to do was get my son and get out of her apartment, go back to my apartment, which is just right across the way. Anyway, well then she told the police officer that I had hit her. I never laid a hand on her. Never.
What'd you go there to take your son for? I thought you went there to visit with him.
Well, I wanted to take my son out of her apartment and go into my apartment, and he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me leave the apartment and go back to my apartment.
With your son?
With my son, exactly.
Well, but you had no right to him at that point. You had no more right to him than your husband had.
Well, I mean, the only thing I wanted to do was just go into my apartment instead of stay there with her.
No, you wanted to take your son.
Well,
do you understand? You
yes,
went there under the pretext of coming to visit him, but it was your plan to go and take him, and then take him into your apartment. That's what you just said to me.
No, ma'am. I just wanted. The only thing I asked Andy is that if I could visit him, that I wasn't going to go nowhere with him, that I could just visit with him in my apartment instead of being there in her apartment.
Yeah, but you didn't intend to give him back.
I wasn't going to take Josh nowhere.
No, but you weren't going to give him back. You were going to keep him in your apartment.
Well, Andy could have, come over there or whatever. I didn't
Right.
care.
I got it. Now, when you left, what arrangements did you make to get your things?
As soon as they could replace it, I wanted my things back.
What happens if she can't replace them?
Well, I'm sure they could, one piece at a time. Your Honor, why would I, at my age, walk out of a house with a chair and a bed, you know, after I'd worked so hard to get all of it?
I don't know. When you moved back to Texas,
and I have copies of pawn tickets where she pawned my stuff.
Did you pawn some of her property?
The movies were mine and Andy's. The VCR Andy had before we got together, and it was Andy's. And the only reason that I had pawned anything because I had to get a lawyer so I could get my son back, because Andy took my son and was gone for 6 weeks and 5 days, and I had no idea if I was ever going to see my baby again.
What does that have to do with my furniture?
Okay. Where are the 3 end tables?
I don't know what she's talking about there. I have no idea.
Is there a king-size bed?
There was, and when Andy come and got the kitchen table and his TV, he threw the bed in the dumpster.
Because there were men's underpants laying on top of the bed and men's shirt on the floor. There were stains on the bed, and I said, I don't want the nasty thing. Throw it in the trash.
You're talking about the mattress?
Yes. So we threw it in the trash.
Okay. Well, then you can't get reimbursed for it.
Well,
you threw it in the trash.
It wasn't that way before, Your Honor.
Who knows? You haven't seen it for a year.
I saw it before Andy left, and I know it wasn't that way. And I know there was men's underpants and his clothes laying on it that weren't my grandson's.
You can't become emotional about that and expect to be reimbursed for it.
That's fine.
Ms. Terrell, the truth of the matter is, you said to both your grandson and his wife, take this furniture, use it for as long as you need it, as you can replace it. If you said that, as you can replace it, I would like it back.
Yeah.
But there is a strong likelihood that they could never replace it, and you are not going to see this furniture again.
Well, I'm sure sooner or later they
Well,
would
sooner or later, then you get a mattress back that's a little bit stained.
Not from other men.
You don't know that. Did you do a DNA test on the mattress?
No, it certainly wasn't Andy's underpants.
Right. So we don't
on the
know
bed.
that. So we don't know that. And I'm not testing your grandson's bed either. That's not my job. All right. You have her couch and you have her recliner. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
She has
You're
the
gonna-
rug. It was in Rhonda's house the last I heard.
Who's Rhonda?
This lady's standing right here.
You have her rug?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing with her rug?
Well, I thought it was Love's, and she told me I could borrow it.
Is it in good shape?
Yeah.
Right. Fine. So we have your rug, your couch, and the Lazy Boy recliner. Those are really the big items here.
All the
Good.
movies, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm not going to go into 104 movies. I don't know why you would leave them with 104 movies anyway.
Well, because they didn't have cable, they
Give
didn't
them
have
one,
anything.
give them one at a
that's all
time.
they
Give them
could
one
do.
at a time. I cannot be a divorce lawyer because he's not here, and I can't question him
you
as
can
to whether
call
or
him.
not. What?
He sent a number if you'd like to call him.
I'm not calling him. I'm not doing your evidence for you.
No, his lawyer, really, Your Honor, his lawyer advised him not to be here.
Well, that's fine.
To
So I
not
have to
to
take
argue
things
with love.
So I have to find things here that everyone almost agrees on, and that is a couch, a recliner, and a rug. Those things I know about.
Vacuum cleaner.
You were without a vacuum cleaner for a year?
Until I bought another one.
Well, so you have one.
It was a brand new one she took.
No, you gave it to the kids to use.
That's
to use.
not giving, I love
No,
it.
you. I got you. Ms. Terrell, I'm following where you're coming from, madam.
Well,
I don't think
ma'am,
you're
I didn't
following
give it
where
to
I'm
her.
coming from.
I guess
Where
not.
I'm coming from is I have children and I have grandchildren, and if you have extra stuff, even if you have stuff that's not extra additional, you say, you don't have anything, kids, here, use this. If you can replace it one day, terrific, I would like it back, because there's no bargaining.
But you
with
don't
children.
Let it go on forever. Till it's worn out,
Sometimes
then
you
they'll
do.
give it back.
Sometimes you do. And Ms. Terrell, I'm going to tell you this. In my view, if your grandson left, set up an apartment, had been awarded permanent custody of his child, and needed the couch and the recliner and the rug and the vacuum cleaner, and brought it to his house, you would not be standing here today.
Yes, ma'am, I would.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would.
No, Miss Terrell, you would not. What I'm doing is I'm directing you within 5 days. The couch, don't make any additional stains on the couch. Don't vandalize it in any way. The lazy boy recliner and the rug, which is to go back to her house, post haste. 5 days. The court will draft an order.
How about my end tables and so forth?
She doesn't have them. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Listen, you never know what's going to happen in the future. You have every confidence that your grandson is going to get custody of his child. That may happen. It may not happen. All I'm telling you is don't antagonize the situation any further, because it's nice to have a reasonable relationship with the custodial parent of your grandchild or your great-grandchild. And to make a big deal over 3 end tables at your stage in life is nothing short of being very short-sighted. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Acetella versus Hire.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, huh?
Miss Acetella, you had a boyfriend with whom you lived for about 9 years, according to your complaint. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What was his name?
Leo McCullum.
And you used to be married to Mr. McCullum, is that right?
Yes, it is.
When were you divorced from Mr. McCullum?
In 92.
And you have children with Mr. McCullum.
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 4 of my own natural children and 1 that I raised from his previous marriage.
Did Mr. McCullum ever have custody of his children
Yes, at one time, yes.
when he was living with the plaintiff?
Yes, part of the time. Since 96, he had custody.
Which child or children lived with you?
Danielle, Samantha, and Joanna.
So 3 of the girls
Yes, ma'am.
lived with you. Now, according to your complaint, Mr. McCullum attempted to murder you by pouring lighter fluid on you and setting you on fire. Mr. McCullum is currently incarcerated, serving a term of 30 years to life. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you hospitalized?
A total of 4 months.
While
In
you
the
were in the hospital, it is your claim that the defendant came to the home that you had shared with Mr. McCullum and took all of the property out of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
When you returned home, there was very little there.
I never returned.
Did you ever go back to see what was in the house?
No, ma'am.
Well, how do you know she took your property?
This is my witness. I'd like for her to come up, please.
Okay, well, we may not even have to get to your witness. Mrs. McCullum says that all the property that was in that house belonged to her former husband, and she was entitled to take it. Is that right?
No, Your Honor. I never took anything from the house other than my children's belongings. And I have my daughter, Danielle, who lived at the house at the time that this terrible thing happened. And she can verify as to what Mrs.
So it's
Estella-
your position that you took nothing from the house except your children's clothing?
That's right.
Okay, now I'll hear your witness. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Terry Way.
Miss Way, tell me what you know about the plaintiff's property.
Well, I know that they lived together for almost 10 years, and they acquired furniture. She had jewelry. She had her clothing.
Did you ever see the defendant take any furniture from the house?
I did not actually see her take it, no, ma'am.
So how do you know she has it?
I went there 3 days after she was in the coma to get her belongings from the house and saw that the house had already been ransacked. And there was only 3 people that had keys to the house: Leo, who was in jail, Piper, who was in the coma, and the children. So the children, maybe Paula, I didn't see them actually take it, but they're the only ones that had access to the house to get those belongings.
Did you have to use a key to get into the house?
I didn't actually get into the house. I saw it through the windows.
Did you try to get into the house?
Yes, I did.
Was the door locked?
Yes, it was.
What floors could you see from the window where you were looking?
Mostly the living room and the kitchen.
And had you been to the house before?
Yes, I had.
So what kind of furniture had been there in the living room previously?
There was a couch and a love seat, a dining room set. That's all I can think of at the time.
And all of that was gone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm with you, Miss Heyer.
Okay. First off, I'd like to call my daughter Danielle for a witness. The first time we were allowed into the home, I wasn't even allowed. It was still under crime scene by the police for at least a week. The second day of this, I had to go by the home to have my daughter go in and pick up some medicine. She was escorted in by the police. At that time, I wasn't able to even go into the home.
And what about the third day?
I have no idea on the third day. They were going to contact us. I forget the detective's name at the time where we could go in and remove the children's clothes.
We've underlined the 2 sections that apply.
Well, this is a copy of a newspaper article. This indicates that Mr. McCullum at some point was free on bond of $300,000. So he was freed awaiting trial for a period of time?
Yes, ma'am, almost a year.
When was bail set?
Bail was set, I believe, at the time that he was arrested, but between his attorneys, they wanted it reduced, but our side said no.
Doesn't make any difference. He was free on bail.
Yes, ma'am, but that happened 3 weeks after. He was in jail for 3 weeks before he was released on bond. And I have another article here that talks about the belongings.
I'd like to read that, too. The defendant says she doesn't have them. I don't know whether she has them or not, but there has to be some proof that she has them, because there are possibly other explanations as to what happened to the property. I'll get to that in a minute. What's your name?
Danielle.
Danielle, did you originally lie to the police about this fire?
Yes.
You originally lied to the police and told them that your father was nowhere around. Is that right?
No.
Danielle McCullum said that she was standing 5 feet from her father and O'Neill in a neighbor's yard when the woman burst into flames. She said she didn't see a lighter in either of their hands. Later, she said she originally told the detective she had been in her room when O'Neill caught fire. She told the jury Wednesday she lied because she was scared.
That's true.
So why would I believe anything she says?
Ma'am, I never got a phone call. I never got a card asking how I was doing or anything. Nothing. After 9 years.
After 9 years and 3 of the children living with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, they must not be very nice
I had
people.
my very bad faults, but after
Brenda,
9...
she drunk.
Excuse me? Listen.
She was an alcoholic.
Well, there had to be
Just out of
some reason
Sigma
why,
House.
listen to me, madam, she may not be perfect, but there had to be some reason why your 3 girls chose to live with their father instead of you. There had to be some reason.
There is. I was incarcerated.
Well, that's a very good reason.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Piper Acetella says her ex-boyfriend's ex-wife, Paula Heyer, ransacked her home and stole her belongings. Piper says the theft occurred while she was in a coma.
She says it wasn't her. It certainly wasn't you. That leaves old Leo. Now, what could Leo have done? Could Leo have given his attorney the key to the house and said to his attorney, in case she makes it, I don't want her to have anything? He could have done that. May have even sent it over to her house. Who knows? Anybody who was crazy enough to do what he did could do anything. And clearly, if he was out on $300,000 bond, he had some money. Where did he get the money from for $300,000 bond? From his parents.
Oh, yeah.
So he could have given his parents the key to the house.
They weren't there yet.
They're out of state.
Doesn't make any difference. Gotten it to them, said one way or another, you get into that house and take everything out of that house. I don't want, in case she gets better, I don't want her to have a thing.
Can she explain about Nancy, the woman that actually saw them taking the stuff in and out?
Well, I would like to hear a witness if you had that witness. Where is that witness?
She was reached by telephone, but apparently she couldn't make it here.
Why? Who is she?
She's Leo's cousin's wife.
She came to see me in the hospital quite frequently while I was waiting for her to come out of her coma.
Well, why can't she be here?
She said that she would be here, but she had to talk it over with her husband, and we think that when she did that, and since he's related to Leo, that they didn't want her to show up here because it would be a plus on her side. So she never did return the calls after that.
Do you understand my problem?
Yes.
What?
I know where the furniture went.
Well, then let me hear you.
Okay. Leo's brother, McCullum, had put everything into storage because the landlord had got a hold of him stating that he was going to trash anything and everything that was left in the house because the rent was due. So he took the stuff from the house, put it into storage. I have the receipts where he paid storage for 10 months.
And when was that done?
Just a second. Here we go.
And I was never notified.
So Leo's brother?
Yes.
Leo's brother took the stuff and put it in storage?
Yes, which he paid storage on for 10 months before he took it out.
Well, where is it now?
It's at his residence in Ozark, Missouri.
Your Honor, I was never notified.
With regards to the contents of Leo McCullough's household goods, McCullum, removed and put in storage in August of 1999. I kept it in storage for 10 months, which then I moved some of the property into storage in my house. Let us make copies of the storage receipts. Let us make a copy of this before the plaintiff leaves today. Now you know where your stuff is. You know where your furniture is.
Maybe the furniture, but my clothes, I mean, they had a habit of stealing stuff out of my closet.
I know, but you can't prove that. We're talking about major stuff now. I mean, I can't say whether they took your clothes, whether they took your shirts, whether they took whatever. The brother went into the house, according to his own letter. He went into the house. That's what I said. I said, he could have turned this key over to a relative, to his parents, to his brother, and said, get it out of there. I don't want her to have anything, because I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail anyway. Hopefully.
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 I'll be there to see it.
Right. So, here's this. Try again. Wrong defendant. Got it? Make sure she gets that. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'll be there to see this man in prison for the rest of his life, and I will.
She didn't never work.
She didn't pay for the booze she drank every day. She didn't pay for anything. Nothing in that house was hers.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bloom parent versus parent. Step forward, please.
57-year-old Shirley Bloom and her daughter, 23-year-old teacher Terry Parent, are suing Shirley's son, 21-year-old plumber's assistant Jess Parent, for an unpaid loan to keep him out of jail.
According to your complaint, there came a time when your son was facing a prison term or facing jail unless he could come up with some money. You took out a loan so he would have the money, but you needed some collateral, and the only collateral that you had was your mother's car, which you did put up as collateral for this loan. Your brother hasn't paid back the loan. What was he facing jail about?
It was for deferred adjudication, and he had hot checks.
A deferred adjudication, which means if he paid back the money, he wouldn't go to jail.
Right.
Okay, and how much money did he have to come up with?
Altogether, it was like $1,900.
So did he come to you and ask you for the money?
Actually, he came to my mom.
What did he say to you, Miss Blum?
He told me that if he didn't have this money by this certain time, that his probation officer, when his probation was off, that they would automatically give him a year. And if he went to jail, then he would go automatically to prison.
You then spoke to your daughter?
Right.
I used my mother's vehicle. It's a '97 Kia Sophia, and got the lease and the amount of money I needed.
And what were the monthly payments on it?
Every week it was $38.72. On March 23rd, 2001, I paid the loan off, which he didn't help me other than maybe, 6, 7 payments. of all.
$871 he gave you
Right.
back.
I had to pay off the loan, which was $1,987.22.
Okay, let's hear from you.
I disagree with everything that was just said because I'd give my mom money to the fact that if the baby, my sister's baby, needed something, I'd give them some money. Every time I got paid, I'd give them some money.
That's not
you know,
true.
to help
That's
them out.
not true, Judge. You know that.
I mean, anytime they needed help, I would help them out. And I mean, it's just been going on like this since I was little. I mean, she's been wanting money. I mean, I had a job.
Let's
I
go
said
back.
her- Okay.
You faced a term of imprisonment on a deferred adjudication. You had to come up with some money, all at one time. Did you ask your mother for the money?
No, ma'am. It
Did you
wasn't that much.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you discuss with your mother the fact that if you didn't come up with a bulk piece of money, you were going to go to jail?
No, ma'am. I had a job, and it wasn't that much money. For
Just a
deferred adjudication, I was not going to, it wasn't having to pay a fine.
Is what you're telling me that your sister never gave you a check to give to the court for fines?
No.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
And that was on or about August of 2000?
Yes. I had a job. I was working.
That's not what I asked you.
Okay.
Are you telling me that you never, in August of 2000, needed a bulk sum of money to pay fines and other bad checks? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
What's the name of your probation officer?
Dolores,
What's her phone number?
I have no idea.
Oh, sure you do. You have to call and check in with your probation officer, sir.
I went and seen her once a month. I never had a call and check or nothing.
Does that name sound familiar to you?
Yes, it does.
Do you have the
But I have-
telephone number of the probation officer?
No, I don't. I never got anything like that. He would never give it to me because he didn't want me to talk to her.
Do you have a copy of the check?
No, we just have the copy of the loan.
The agreement, the
Right.
lease agreement.
And
for
I have, these are checks that I picked up with some of that money for him because he was going to go to jail that day if they weren't paid. And the rest of it I gave it to him to pay his fine.
Well, you certainly made restitution on that date, sir. So that takes care of your argument that you didn't need a bulk of money in August.
I didn't. I had to pay a certain payment before that date.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
No.
Your Honor, why would we get the loan if, I mean, I have my own responsibilities,
What did
more or
you do
less.
with the check that you got for it?
I cashed it and I gave him the, my mother went and paid off some of his hot checks, which we gave you the paperwork on that.
And the rest of it we gave to him.
How many bad checks did you write?
I wrote, I'd say around 4 or 5.
That's not true.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
I wrote about 4 or 5 hot checks because I had gotten kicked out of their house. So,
What'd you get kicked out for?
well, she wanted more money from me, and I only had so much money. I was getting.
That's not
I
true,
gave
Jess.
her most
That's
of
not-
my check.
no.
Yes, that is true.
I-
Every week when I got paid, I got a certain amount. That's all I would get. I'd give her the rent. I didn't mind paying rent. I don't mind doing that. You know,
Well,
I
how
feel
old are you?
responsible. You know,
How
I'm
old are you?
21. I don't mind paying rent at all. That's part of life, you know. But I mean, you shouldn't work all week for just like $50
When you have
a
that
week
many
when you
bills.
give your whole check to your mom. I mean, that's supposed to be your mom, not your money taker.
That's right.
You
And
know?
it's supposed to be your mom.
Don't talk to him.
Your Honor, I keep a diary because he accused me several times of taking his money. He'd give me money, right. By the end of the week, he would borrow it all back. And he'd say, Mom, why don't I have any money? So I kept a little calendar. And every time he got money from me, I wrote it down. And I made copies for you, if you want to see them, showing since the time we had to get him out of jail the first time, which was like almost $700 that weekend getting him out of jail when he got in trouble, that he never paid back.
You been arrested since, sir?
No, ma'am.
How many times have you been arrested altogether?
I'd say twice.
Yes.
I'd say twice.
Yeah.
I'd
Well,
say.
it wasn't nothing besides traffic tickets. I mean, that's why. I mean, I
And
got.
lying to a judge.
That's why I got. Well, the second time I got thrown in jail for lying to an officer, and the officer came back and put me in jail for that.
Oh, good. And what's next?
And then the other one was for traffic tickets.
And the other one was for bad checks.
No, I never got thrown in jail for bad checks.
No, because Mama helped and paid.
No, because I worked and paid for them.
No,
You got arrested for
loan
bad. Just a second. You got arrested for bad checks, didn't you?
No, he never
I
got
never got
arrested.
arrested for
Never
bad
got
checks.
arrested
No,
for the bad
because I
checks.
paid him off.
No, he came
so
to
I
us
see.
whining about
I
he was
see.
gonna
He
go to
was
jail.
on probation for something else.
Right.
Oh. Oh, what? For lying to an officer.
Right.
Yes.
What'd you lie to him about?
I told him a different name because I knew I had a traffic ticket out.
Oh, so, and that wasn't hard to lie to the officer, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Good.
It was a
Judgment for the
class-
plaintiff in the amount of $1,900.
Erin Creatia says her boyfriend's ex, Tanya Cruz, vandalized her car by kicking it.
Miss Creatia, the defendant is your current boyfriend, I assume this gentleman over here, your current boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. And they had a relationship, must have been for a while because they have 2 children together. It is your complaint that Miss Cruz was in a snit about something, and when your boyfriend went over to her house to pick up or drop off the children, he was using your car, and she took out her frustrations on him by kicking your car and causing damage. Miss Cruz says she would never do such a thing, right?
Right.
When did this happen?
April 22nd.
You weren't there,
No.
but the boyfriend was there.
Yes.
And his name is?
Ben Mojica.
Mr. Mojica, would you stand up, please? Next to her. How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
7 and 6.
5.
How long did you and Miss Cruz live together?
It's about 10 or 11 years.
Never married?
No, ma'am.
How come?
Just didn't get married.
Couldn't afford to.
Shh. Did you ever ask her?
No.
Excuse.
What?
He was going to buy me a ring, but I told him not to bother, so.
Did you tell him not to bother after your first child or your second child?
After my second one, when I knew that things were going pretty much downhill.
You couldn't have a clue to that before you had children with him?
No, he was actually a pretty good guy at that time. He just seemed to have went down the tubes, going to jail, getting into things that I don't want around my children.
Who is this man?
My uncle.
Uncle. Just seems a little odd to me that life has changed so much over the last 20, 30 years. That people live together 10 or 11 years. They don't want to make a commitment to get married, but they don't feel as if having children is a commitment. Just something doesn't balance out to me, so I'm always interested in this as it's just a social experiment. Do you understand that, Ben?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so on the 22nd of April, what were you doing over at her house?
They were having a toy party.
What is that?
An adult party. Like toys, dolls and things like that.
No, it's like lotions and stuff.
What?
Lotions, it's for adult, it's for...
An adult toy party. I shouldn't have gone any further. I thought it was a toy party for children. My mistake. Okay, so you were having an adult party.
Right. It's
Okay,
not just
go ahead.
Well, I was with the kids, with Marcus and Tiaja. We were at Lori's house.
Who's Lori?
A friend of hers and mine. And Marcus and Tiaja were there with me. I had picked them up.
Your 2 children?
Yes, at the daycare earlier in the day. And I had called Tanya. Then she had informed me about they were having a little party, and her sister, Michelle, was down here from Hartford, and Michelle also has 2 children. And she just had one, so he wouldn't know anything really what was going on. Xavier would know, so she asked me, Ben, can you come and pick up Xavier?
Who asked you?
Michelle did.
That's her sister. So
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get to the story a little bit faster,
All
sir.
right.
So far,
her
you're doing
sister-
fine, but we
Okay.
got to get there because I have other things to do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so her sister said, can you come and pick
Yes,
up
can you come and
Xavier,
pick up
who is how
Xavier?
old?
About 11, I believe.
How old is Xavier?
He's 10.
10 or 11. You always
Yeah.
quibble over a year. So they wanted you to come pick him up because the party was inappropriate for him.
Yes, for him.
Okay, so you went to pick him up?
So I went to pick him up, and Marcus and Tiaja were with me at Lori's at the time. Marcus was hungry, and I had just ordered Chinese food. And I told Erin, and I told Lori, hey, you know, I'm gonna leave him. He's hungry. He'll just have something to eat. Can you watch him? She said, sure. I took Tiaja with me, which is my daughter.
She wasn't hungry.
No.
She's always hungry.
Don't do it again.
Right.
You want to know why? Miss Cruz, because if I see that you can't control yourself in the courtroom, How am I going to believe you when you tell me that you wouldn't dare do what she says you did to her car, because you don't have a temper like that? You can control yourself, right? So far, it's been twice that you haven't been able to control yourself, or 3 times. You get me?
Yes.
Even your uncle gets me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead.
So when I pulled up to pick up Xavier, Tanya was outside and Michelle was outside with her baby that she just had. So she came out to show me. I'm real close with them and stuff. And when she came outside, I said, "Oh, Michelle, this is your new baby. I'm getting out of the car." And she kept asking me, "Where is my son? Ben, where is Marcus? Where the F is Marcus?" And I'm ignoring her because she gets loud and she's always doing that. And Tiaja, I look at Tiaja and I saw in her eyes, she was getting,
Right,
like,
because
what's
her mother
going
was
on?
acting inappropriately.
Yeah, so I said, "Tanya, relax. Why do you guys?" She goes, "No, where the F is my son? Pa, pa, pa." So I kept ignoring her, and I'm talking to Michelle. She said, "You want to ignore me?" Well, I don't know if she chose those words or whatever. She went right around us and started kicking the car. And that's when I got off, obviously.
And?
There was people around, and I said, "You guys saw that, right? You guys saw what she just did, right? Right?" And everybody's like, all of a sudden, nobody saw anything except one kid. He saw it. And I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
And he's
Can't control yourself?
He's a minor, Your Honor?
No,
Can't control yourself?
I'm just trying to,
You're
basically
trying.
put my hand.
What do you think? You think that I'm not going to let you speak? Do you think that this is only a one-sided case, that only he gets to speak? You do know that both sides get to speak, right, Miss Cruz? In their turn. What's Uncle's name?
Vincent.
You get it, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
You get her, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Because you're going to have to make a very important decision, Vincent, as to whether or not you want to speak later.
Okay.
Because you don't look like the kind of guy that wants to be humiliated. All right. Okay, Miss Cruz, now it's your turn. 2005. How many people were at the party?
At that point, there was probably about 4.
4
My
women?
sister, yes.
Where was Uncle Vincent?
He was not there.
So, Uncle Vincent saw nothing. Is that right?
Right. But when I went outside, they were outside talking. I noticed that my son wasn't in the car. I asked him, "Where's my son?" He ignored me. "Where's my son?" In which he had told my brother she looked so good that I couldn't look at her. That was in his words. After he ignored me, I said, "Tiaja, get out of the car. Go get my son. Bring him back."
Why did you do that?
Because he had just came back from Florida. For 2 years, he hasn't seen his children. So why are you going to leave your kids behind? And my daughter not being hungry, she's hungry all the time, but that's irrelevant. So I told my daughter to come in with me. We went in. He has a very bad temper, so I know not to provoke him. We went inside the house. He started swearing and, saying derogatory comments, in which I shut the door because I had company. I thought that was over with. I sat there. I got a knock on the door. The cops came. They know him very well. They ended up asking him to leave the premises. And 3 months later, I get court papers in the mail.
He made the police report that day, and there was a witness in the police report who indicates that they saw you kick the car.
I forgot to tell you. He says, "I'll pay somebody to say that she kicked the car."
Ridiculous.
Is there anything that Uncle Vincent is going to tell me? No, he's just here for moral support.
Right. Perfect. Pretty much the women that were at my house are single working moms. And
well, they're single working moms, but you were having a party at your house, the subject matter of which was inappropriate for children.
Right.
And you had a 10-year-old child there.
No, my sister had called, and they got
She
along.
didn't call.
Yeah,
he called your house.
No, she had called him.
So she had called him to please come over and pick up her son?
Well, she had said, "Come see my nephew. He's still a baby."
Sounds as if
She
your
was gonna
family
ask
doesn't
him.
dislike him as much as you do.
No, they get along with him.
Good. Can I see the estimate, please, on the car? And this was your car?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz, I don't believe you. I believe you have a hot temper, and I believe you went out there and gave the car a good kick because he ignored you. And I believe that you walked outside the house and you said exactly what he said you said.
I interrupted a couple times because he takes a long time to tell.
Listen to me. What I'm telling you is I believe him, and I don't believe you. I believe that you kicked the car because you were frustrated and annoyed that he wouldn't respond to you.
I was upset.
Oh, I know that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $894. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Connie Adams says former friend Richard Hood owes for rent, loans, and harassment. Richard is countersuing for the return of his truck.
Miss Adams, the defendant was a friend of yours who, according to your complaint, you were allowed to move into your home.
Correct.
You claim that he owes you some money for rent and for harassment and for a small loan that you made to him. Mr. Hood says that, as a matter of fact, he owes you nothing. Your relationship after he moved in changed, and that you told him he didn't have to pay rent. There was some point where he gave you the title to his car as collateral on the loan. It got very, very ugly, and Mr. Hood says that you actually kept some tools that were in his truck. He's counterclaiming for that property, and also he says that you've been harassing him. Is that right, Mr. Hood?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Hood, how do you know Miss Adams?
I did some work on her house about 3 to 4 years ago for another contractor, and I met her at a bar about a year before that, and did the work on her house, and when I got done, she was wanting to do some further work, so I said okay, and me and my girlfriend, we had a falling out, we split up, and I was asked to leave, and I went to Miss Adams and I said, would you care to trade the work for the rent? And she agreed.
That's not true.
Shh. Well, it is true, because that's what you say in your complaint, that initially he asked to move in, and you agreed that until he found a job, because you didn't have a job at that point.
Correct.
According to her.
But he had one lined up.
Shh. According to your complaint, you said, well, you can do some work around the house until you start your job, and then you can pay me rent. Is that what she told you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. When did you move in?
It was around January. It was like maybe right around the 16th.
And what work did you do in the house?
She had a bathroom, didn't have enough plywood on the floor, so when you set the toilet down, the wax ring wouldn't fit right, so I had to build up some plywood around the toilet.
How long did that take you, Mr. Hood?
Probably a couple hours.
What else did you do in the house?
I patched holes in her walls. She had various holes.
How many various holes did she have?
Probably about maybe 5 or 6.
5 or 6 holes. With your
2.
hands, show me how big the holes were.
Just like pinholes were.
Little holes?
They're little tiny, like nail holes.
It was where a towel rack had fallen off the wall.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Speak not.
Sorry.
Little pinholes. So what you do is you go to the store, right? You get a little tub of that putty stuff. You go like this, you put it in, you smooth it over,
Yes,
right?
Your Honor. There was like maybe some like that too as well.
Oh,
where
big
she
nails.
pulled a picture.
Big ones, so that you had to go like this
Yes, Your Honor.
instead of like this, right? Would you
Yes,
say
Your
it took you 20 minutes?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that now we have 2 hours and 20 minutes. What else did you do?
She wanted a wall framed in her basement, which I told her then I wasn't a framer either, so the wall would look good. To the eye, it would look good, but it wasn't perfectly level. I didn't have levels. I had very little stuff to work with. But I had just enough, and I got the wall built.
You built a wall,
Yes, Your Honor.
an unlevel wall.
Yes, Your Honor.
And, Mr. Hood, how long would you say that it took you to build that wall?
Probably about 5 hours.
What else did you do?
I'm not.
That's about it.
Okay, so that we have, and I shot. Put it down. So this is what we have, Mr. Hood. We have 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 5 hours. That is 7.5 hours. That is a full day, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You moved in on what date? The 16th of
Yes, Your Honor.
January? On what date did you start to pay rent?
I think it was like a month, roughly about a month after
And
that.
how much was your rent per week, per month? What did you decide?
She decided she wanted to make it $100 a week.
$100 a week. And you worked for a day. And you lived there for a month before you started to pay rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to you. So that would mean that you owe her 4 and something weeks in a month. Let's say you have $450 for rent. So let's say I'm going to deduct $50 for all the work you did for her.
Okay.
$50. Is that fair?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is too easy. And when did you move out?
It was probably right around March. I don't know the exact date.
Miss Adams does. What day in March? Miss
March
Adams?
30th.
Oh, January, February, March. So he lived there about 3 months. How much did he pay you in rent? $200.
When? In what month did he give you $200?
The last 2 weeks he was there.
What'd you let him stay for?
Well, I felt sorry for him because he was fighting for his children, and I took in the whole story about how the state had the kids in foster care and they were turning against him, and he hadn't seen the kids in months. He needed a decent place to stay where the children could come. And my heart went out to him. And once I let him move into the house, the state was allowing the children to come see him on Sundays, sometimes Saturdays, at my home, in my presence.
Is that true, Mr. Hood?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
And I felt sorry for him, and I felt sorry for the children until I found out what he was really like, and I believe the children are better off where they are right now.
Why?
Because they're on a farm with their aunt, and these two are in the bars nearly every night. He met me in a bar. I was DJing at that bar. I wasn't drinking, I was the DJ there.
How do you know that they're at a bar every night?
I know several bar owners in town because I do DJ work.
How many children do you have, Mr. Hood?
I have 6 children, Your Honor.
How old are they?
One's 21, one's 10, and little girl's 17, one's 18, and then the 2 and 3-year-old.
When was the last time you lived with any of your children?
Roughly about a year.
And then the state removed them?
I was removed from the house because of domestic violence.
You were?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Adams. What else?
I have receipts for the loans that I gave him.
Let me see it.
All of those are receipts. And his bar tab.
I don't care about his bar tab. All these checks that you have circled are made out to cash, Miss Adams.
Right, because he doesn't have a bank account. I had to get cash to give him. It says in the memo that it was a loan to him on 2
I
of
don't
them.
care what it says in the memo.
Ma'am, he truly does owe me that money on that loan. He truly does.
You want to tell me about the lawyer's fee?
Yes, I do. He was in court at family court, and his attorney was not going to represent him. He called me several times, very upset, because he knew then he was going to lose guardianship of his children. And I said, I don't know what I can do. I don't really have a lot of funds.
When was
this? And he
this?
said, I think February 24th, January or February 24th.
Did you give your lawyer money on about the 24th of February?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
From her?
Yes, you did.
I drove it
How
over
much?
to the court.
It was about $120, yes.
How much?
$150.
Which I paid her back.
He
Show
did
me.
not.
I don't have any receipts, Your
That's
Honor.
too bad.
Okay.
When did he leave and why?
He left the end of March because I had him removed from the home. Because
Why?
well, first of all, he was sexually harassing me, trying to come in my room when I was dressing after I'd come out of the shower.
Not true.
He had his hands all over me at his birthday party.
Who is
And
this?
This is my 23-year-old son. And
All right, at that,
several
at that
events.
point he left. Did the police put him out?
They came as standby, and I do have the standbys that shows the police presence for him to remove all of his possessions, with the exception of the truck, because I had the title to the truck as collateral, and I showed it to the police officers. Then he went and said he had lost the title and went and fraudulently got another title for the truck so he could come get it. And the police escorted him there. If there was anything missing out of the truck, he would have complained to the police at that time.
Okay, I assume he has a police report where that's indicated. Do you have
I
a
don't
police
have any police report. She said I could come back.
No, I did not.
She said I could come back and
No,
get
I
the
did
stuff.
not.
Stuff. I got most of it. There was some
Good.
stuff
Well,
I
if you
forgot.
then you should have gotten all of it, sir. Listen to me. My sense is that at some point or another, felt as if the money that you were laying out for him, he wasn't paying you rent, he certainly wasn't doing work around the house. He was drinking. There's no question about that because he didn't stop drinking for the 2.5 months he was living with you. If you're walking around with shades over your eyes, don't come to me to complain.
He had a job the very next day that he was going to start at $27 an hour, and I knew once he started working, I was going to get paid.
But
That's
you
why I
didn't.
got his
But
tools
according
out,
to
'cause
you,
he needed
you
the
didn't.
tools. Well, then he started the work on the wall, and the work that he did is so substandard that it's
Listen
going
to
to
me.
cost me $1,500 to fix what he did.
Well, that's your problem.
I don't think it is.
It is your problem because you're a big girl.
I really thought he was getting his life together for his kids. I used to be a preacher's wife. I went to Bible college. I was trying to do what we've been taught to do. I've learned now it doesn't pay to
It
help
doesn't-
people unless they're related to you.
And even then, not always. Let's get to your counterclaim, sir. Your counterclaim is for the tools. I'm dismissing that part of your counterclaim because unless you have a police report that indicates you still had tools in the truck, you got your truck back, you got everything back. If you're missing tools, that's too bad. So far, you owe $550.
He owes more than that. I also have telephone tape recordings where he tells me he owes me at least $900 and that he will pay it. I have a transcript and the tape right here.
Oh, well, that I'll hear. You have a tape that says he owes you $900?
That's correct. And that he wronged me
And that
I
he
don't care
didn't
if he
expect me to
wronged
give him
you
the
or
truck.
you-
Well, and he said he didn't expect me to give him the truck until he paid for it.
Well, he doesn't say he owes you $900. Matter. What he says is, look, Connie, I don't want to argue with you or nothing. If I owe you $900, I'll pay you. That's what it says. That means, sir, that she must have said to you, you owe me $900, right?
She claimed that.
I told
Tom,
him he owed
speak-
more, but that's
No.
what I gave him the truck back for. And
Listen.
I told him that in front of the police.
Hey,
Okay.
don't play with me. I've been in business a lot longer than you
The
have,
truck's
Miss
not
Adams.
worth even that much.
Well, just listen to me. Somewhere between telling him that he owed you $900 and you filing this case for $3,000, $2,100 got added
when I
on to
found
what
out
he
how
owed
much
you.
the damage was going to cost on the house, and he started harassing me. Even sent his girlfriend to crash my birthday party after he beat her up.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $550, which is what I said in the beginning. I believe that there was a relationship that was brewing.
No,
between-
I had a boyfriend, and I have a restraining. He took out a restraining order, ma'am.
Counterclaim is dismissed, so she owes you nothing.
That
you owe
the court threw out as a misuse of
$400 for the
justice.
rent, and $150 for the loan that you acknowledge. Goodbye.
27-year-old car parents, Harris and Judy Taub, are suing their neighbors, 13-year-old Kimberly Gilmer and her mother, Martha, for car repair bills.
Mr. and Mrs. Taub, and I assume this is your daughter,
Right.
who, according to your complaint, is entering law school.
I just finished law school, actually.
Or
and
just
took the
finished
bar.
law school.
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck. According to your complaint, you purchased this car for her. You a neighbor of the defendants? Do you live across the street from each other, or was she just visiting a neighbor?
I was visiting.
She was visiting a neighbor of yours, and her daughter got into her car and either backed or moved forward, and her car hit your car, causing some damage. Do you have pictures of the damage?
We do.
I'd like to see it, please. Where did you go to law school, Miss Taub?
Golden Gate University in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the tire on the back. I couldn't figure out what it was. It looked like a satellite.
It's a Honda 2001 SUV with a spare tire that's on the back of the tail.
Now I got it. How old are you?
I just turned 13.
When did this happen?
August 14th.
What time of the day or evening did you go out and get into this car?
Like the afternoon.
Whose car did you get into?
My mom's.
Why?
Because we were about to go home.
Who gave you the keys to the car?
My mom's purse was in my grandma's house, and I knew she would forget it, so I had her purse on my shoulder.
So you had your mother's purse on your shoulder. You took the keys?
Yes.
Why did you start the car?
Because it was a really hot day, and I wanted to turn the air conditioning on so it would get cool in the car when we were driving.
But you hit their car. How did that happen?
Because I didn't know the car was in gear, and I didn't know it would move, and when I put the keys in the ignition and turned it, it jumped forward because the car was in, or lunged forward because the car was in gear.
Tell me your first name.
Kimberly.
Have you ever put the key in the car before? Kimberly? Have you
Yeah.
ever? Where were you when you put the key in the car before?
The key in my mom's car or someone else's car?
In your mom. Let's try your mom's car.
At our house, just putting them in.
For what reason?
I don't know. Just because.
Where did you get the keys from when you just because put it in the ignition?
From in her car. Because she always puts her purse in the car.
Has your mother ever said to you, don't take the keys out of my car and don't start the car?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
So why do you do it?
Because I didn't listen to her.
Right. So now, Kimberly, your mom gave you her pocketbook or you took it?
I took it.
And did you tell her you were going outside to wait for her?
Well, we all went outside. Me and my older sister, her boyfriend, and my mom.
So your mother saw that you had her pocketbook?
I don't know if she saw I had it, but...
Well, she didn't leave her pocketbook in the house, did she? You were all getting ready to go. Don't speak to her. So, Kimberly, these people are in their house not doing anything. Their car is sitting on the street in a legally parked space, and you get in the car, and you start the car, and you lunge forward, and you damage their car. Who do you think is responsible?
Me.
Great!
But...
Just a second. Great! Now I'll hear your but.
But I didn't. It's not like I purposely tried to hit their car. I was
That's why they call it an accident.
Yeah.
Whose fault is it?
Mine.
Right. And if you were an adult, you would have to pay for it, right?
Right.
Because it was an accident that was your fault, even though
wasn't purposeful. You didn't get into the car with a view towards damaging somebody else's property. That's why we call it an accident. But since you're 12 and not responsible under the law, so I can't make a judgment against you, I have to make a judgment against you. Right? Perfect. Can we understand each other? How much did it cost to fix it?
Well, we haven't gotten it fixed yet.
What's your estimate?
$945, close to $950.
$945. Yeah. How many estimates do you have?
We have two. The one I like, though, the brunt of the damage was done on this wheel cover. It's cockeyed. And what the mechanic said to me made sense.
Don't tell me what the mechanic said to you. Just let me see the two estimates.
Sure. Judge Judy, can I tell you how it really happened?
Sure.
Are you interested? Okay.
Sure, I am interested.
Okay.
Always interested if somebody's not telling me the truth.
Okay. Well, I was reading. It was around
I don't care what you were doing.
5 o'clock. Quiet. I hear noise outside. Like, I thought they were drunken kids outside before I even saw them, just by the noise element and how they were giggling and laughing.
Let's go. I have
outside,
other things to do today.
And I see the two kids. They talk to a fella, and I figured, well, you can't stop kids from being on the street. I went back to read a book. About a minute later, I looked out again. I just got a gut feeling nothing good was going to come of this. I see her get into the car, sans pocketbook, no pocketbook. And the other, her girlfriend, was egging her on. And they were
What do you
both
mean? Don't tell me
laughing.
she was egging you on. What did
Do
she
it,
say?
do it. You're not going to do it. Do it. You're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it. And they were both laughing. I mean, really laughing. And now I'm glued to the window because this car it doesn't even have a paint job. It's like a black matte primer.
I got it.
And then she talked to a fella in a truck. I think maybe she's 16, so
Whatever.
I thought she's going to back out and take off.
Whatever.
But what she did was put it in gear and accelerate. It was such a loud noise.
She didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. She didn't mean to hurt your car. She didn't mean to hurt her mother's car. She had no business being in a car. She had no business being in possession of the car keys.
Right.
Her mother's statement is she has trouble with her. She can't watch her 24/7, therefore it's not her fault. That's pretty much what you said in your statement. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, as between you and these poor people, you're responsible for the damage your daughter does. And if I were you, I'd have her do a whole bunch of something, babysitting, whatever it is.
I already do babysit.
Well, what do you do with the money that you make from babysitting?
Use it, like go to the mall with my friends.
Why don't you give it to your mother so that you can help pay for this property damage that you caused? Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $742.47, which is the amount of the lower estimate. That's all. Step out. Take responsibility for what you do. That's all.
Thank you.
19-year-old Brittany Mimsquay is suing her former friend, Samantha Gilmore, for the return of money she'd paid to go on a cruise. Samantha says Brittany backed out at the last minute.
Miss Mimsquay.
Yes.
Miss Gilmore was a friend of yours. You had been friends for a long time, according to what I read in your complaint. A group of girls decided to go on a trip. Where were you going?
We were going on a Mexican cruise.
For how many days?
A week.
And what was the cost to each girl?
It was $325 each.
Very reasonable for a whole week.
Yes.
Did they feed you on this trip for $325 for a week?
I actually don't know. I didn't go.
Do they feed you?
Yes, they do.
In any event, you paid Miss Gilmore your $325.
Yes.
She was making the arrangements. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
19.
Am I correct that someone in the party had to be 21 in order for the girls to go?
Yes.
What you tell me in your complaint is that one of the girls, I believe her name was Ashley, was the 21-year-old, she backed out.
Yes.
So now you have a predicament. You've paid your $325, as have other girls, and unless you found someone else who was 21 years old, you couldn't go.
Yes.
So according to you, you waited for a while to see if somebody else was going to go and somebody else was going to go. So you made other plans for that period of time. That's what you say. And according to you, Miss Gilmore decided to take her brother.
Yes, well, actually...
Decided to take her brother. He was going to pay for himself. And his brother had a friend whose name was?
Gaius.
Gaius?
Gaius Mike. He goes by Mike.
Good. His name was Mike. Mike went on your ticket.
Yes.
And you want the money?
Yes.
Didn't Mike pay?
No.
Why not?
because we had made oral agreement that Mike was going to pay after the cruise, but Brittany showed up at my house the day before we left saying that she wanted it then.
Just a minute. Who did Mike make the arrangement with? With you?
With me. He made it with me and she made it with me.
Just a second. So Mike made the arrangement with you that he was going to pay for the trip.
Yes.
And you told her that Mike was paying for the trip. That was your agreement with him.
Yes.
Now she's suing you because you told her you're going to get your money for this ticket. That's what you told her.
Yes.
Go get the money from Mike. She has no way of suing him because they did not have an agreement. The agreement was between the two of you. You have a cause of action against him if he breached that agreement and didn't give you the money.
Yes, but since she had come to my house saying that she wanted the money earlier than she had expected, I figured if she felt that she needed the money before, even though he wasn't able to provide it for her, she should have called the travel agent herself and said that, because what she said was she wanted her ticket or the money.
Madam.
Ma'am.
She could have done this and she would have done that, and if she did this, she wouldn't have been in that. She had an agreement with you, and the agreement was you were going to give her back her money because your brother and his friend were going on this trip with you. And if the friend stiffed you, sue him. He went, he had a good time. I assume he ate, right? Well, I'm sure his company wasn't that terrific that entitled him to a free ride, right? Right, Mr. Gilmore? You wouldn't give him a free ride.
Ma'am, she canceled out at the very last minute.
Are you following me? Your daughter made an agreement with her that she would get her money back. She has to do that. Now, since she did not gain anything herself, perhaps, unless she likes Mike, she has an absolute right to turn around and sue Mike for the cost of the ticket because he promised to pay her, and he didn't. She may have had a lot of other options. She doesn't have to exercise all those other options. She had an agreement with your daughter. Do you get it?
Yes.
Good. Now, you have a counterclaim for harassment and the expenses surrounding harassment. Ms. Gilmore, you want to tell me about that?
Yes, when she had decided 4 days we had agreed that Mike was going to take her place. We had made the agreement that he was going to pay after, and she kept constantly calling saying that she wanted the money earlier, and I told her that I didn't have it and that Mike hadn't given it to me, and she kept calling me, harassing me, and showing up. She showed up at my house the day before saying she wanted the money or the ticket, and the option was that she could call the travel agent and say that she wanted her place back because I didn't have the money. So she was constantly calling me, and then after she had left our house, she had called our mutual friend who also went, inquiring about my car, wondering where my car was going to be where we went on the cruise, and I just bought a brand new car, so I was wondering why she wanted to know where my car was.
Just a second, how do you know Brittany called your friend?
My friend, the one who went on the cruise, told me.
Well, you can't tell me that, madam, that's hearsay.
Okay.
What else?
So, but basically she had called me constantly, leaving me messages, called me when I was
that's
at
what
work.
happens when she feels as if you were stiffing her money. That's not a cause of action for harassment. You have to give her the $325, and I suggest that you and your father, when you leave here, you go to small claims court and you sue Mike for the trip that he took, that he enjoyed, that so far he didn't pay for. Right?
Right.
As between the two of you, you owe her $325. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
Tatiana Levy says her former roommate, Joanna Amrit, disposed of her furniture and slandered her to her father. Tatiana claims Joanna told her father she'd been using cocaine.
Miss Levy, you and the defendant were friendly, and there came a point when you and two of your 4 children moved in with Miss Amrit. According to you, there was a disagreement. You left.
Correct.
And took much of your property with you, but left some there, including, according to you, a valuable ring. You claim that Miss Amrit refused to return your property, and in addition, she slandered you to your father.
Correct.
Alleging that you were abusing drugs.
Correct.
You want to be compensated. Miss Amrit says she gave you ample opportunity to get your stuff. She finally disposed of your stuff, with the exception of the ring, which she says she returned to you in the mail, right?
It was actually through a friend, a co-worker where she worked, and I gave it to that person to deliver to her.
Okay. When did you move in with her?
I started staying at Joanna's house probably the 2nd week of July.
You have 4 children?
Correct.
How old are you?
21.
You have enough children.
Yeah.
Forever.
I know.
Where are your 4 children?
Right now?
Yes.
They're with my mother right now.
Where were they in July?
With me. I had 2 of them with me and 2 of them with my mother.
Why did you move in with your 2 children with Miss Amrit?
At first, I wasn't with my children. I was working with her. and I was having problems with my boyfriend Henry at the time, and she knew that.
Is Henry the father of any of these children?
Yes. And one day on the way to work, I got pulled over, and I got a ticket for driving on a suspended license.
It's a very, very long story, Miss Levy.
Right.
I asked you why you were staying with her.
Basically, my license was suspended, and she was driving back and forth to work with me every day.
She was driving you to work?
With my car.
Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Where were you working?
Travelers Express.
You too?
Yes.
Did your children ever join you in her house?
Yes, 2 of them.
When?
The 3rd week of July.
So practically as soon as you moved in. When did you move out?
The 29th of July.
So you stayed a very short time.
Correct.
And according to what I read, you had a falling out over child care and what you were doing. According to the defendant, you were having a little too good a party time. Now, you said that you left a valuable ring there when you left. Where did you leave the ring?
In the kitchen.
You leave it there by mistake?
Yes.
Who did you give it to at work?
A woman named Maxine.
You know that person?
Yes.
Did she give you the ring?
Yes.
So you have the ring?
The reason why I have the ring is because I called her, she didn't answer her phone, so I text messaged her.
I don't care. You have the ring? Maxine gave you the ring? Good. Then that's all I care about. What other property did you leave there?
An entertainment center, a dresser, a chest, a mirror.
Furniture?
Yes.
What'd you do with the furniture?
I threw most of it away.
Why?
Because she left it at my house, Your Honor, and she never answered the phone anytime I called her. She would text me back, never calling me back, saying that she would come the next week to pick up the furniture. She never did. I have phone records that show that I've called her, and all these phone records show that she hasn't called me once, except for on the 29th of October when Henry had called her and told her we were coming to pick up my stuff, and she hung up the phone on him.
29th of October?
Yes, but I have phone records that show that I've called her on the 15th of August when she hung up on me.
8:15.
And 8:23 I called her 3 different times.
8:23. Did you speak to her on any of those occasions?
I left her a message. The reason why she...
Just a second. You didn't speak to... Were you all working at the same place?
Yes, but that Friday she had quit working there.
Well, then you weren't working at the same place. 3rd.
No.
August 15th.
No.
Okay. So August, we go into September, we go into the entire month of October. Why didn't you sue her for the return of your property?
Because every time I tried to call her, it was a matter of when my brother could take me to get my stuff. And she told me the only way I could get my stuff back, she wanted me to pay her $150 for staying there, $40 for using her perfume, and what was it, $100 for something else.
So she told you that?
Yes, she text messaged me that.
Just a second. So she told you that as far as she was concerned, you owed her for rent.
Correct. That's correct.
And I don't know about the perfume. I have no idea about the but you owed her for rent.
Correct.
And she was keeping your property.
Correct.
Until you paid her for rent.
Correct.
When was that text message?
That was on the 20th of August.
Well, then you knew on the 20th of August that you weren't going to get your furniture back until you paid rent.
Okay.
And you waited 2.5 months after that to sue her for your property.
Okay.
Well, that's unreasonable.
She was actually telling other people that she...
You can't tell me what she told other people.
Okay, well,
That's
she has
hearsay.
the dressers and stuff. She said she was going to keep that for her children.
That's hearsay.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask her where all the stuff is.
Okay.
And she's going to tell me. Is your father here?
Yes, he's right there.
Step up, please. Your last name is?
Levy, same.
Mr. Levy, the second part of your daughter's lawsuit is that when you called Miss Amrit about, I gather, this furniture,
Right.
she said something about your daughter. When did you call her?
It was in August. My
No.
son. Well,
That was in October. Called her.
is it that late?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I left a message on her answer machine because my wife was calling and calling, and I didn't want to get involved. And my wife was calling her and never getting an answer.
I'm talking about you, sir.
All right. What happened was she called me back after I left a message on her answer machine. Once she called me back, I said, "Where's the furniture?" She said, "I don't have it anymore. I gave it away."
Well, that's not true. Miss Amrit didn't do that. You didn't give away all the furniture. You didn't dispose of all... Miss Amrit, look at me. You didn't dispose of all the furniture. Some of the furniture you still have. Is this your child?
Yes.
You don't want to lie in front of your child, do you?
No.
You still have some of the furniture.
No, Your Honor.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And that's a very bad thing to fib in front of your daughter. I don't believe people just give away stuff. You may have sold it.
Oh, well, correct, Your Honor. Some
What?
of it, yes, Your Honor.
Oh, well, that's a different story. then threw it away. Sold it is a different story. Who did you sell it to?
A gentleman that I know.
Whose name is?
His name is Lemuel.
Usually people have two names.
Is his last name.
And how much did you sell the furniture for?
$200, Your Honor.
Did he purchase all the furniture?
No, not all of it.
What did he purchase?
He purchased a black entertainment center.
What else?
That was it.
What about the two chests?
The two chests?
The two chests. So I ask the questions, you answer me, Miss Amrit. Where are the two chests?
They're no longer at my house, Your Honor.
Miss Amrit, don't play with me. Where are they?
I threw them away, Your Honor. I had a truck come and take them away.
I don't think I believe you. See, you lie once, you get caught in a fib once. Okay, I'd like you to tell me what she said to you about your daughter's behavior.
Right.
Your daughter is also suing for slander.
What happened was, after she told me about the furniture, she said, I had to get your daughter out of the house because she was using cocaine in the house in front of my kids. And I know that doesn't happen because, you know, I'm back and forth with my daughter. I'm raising two of the kids. And during the summer, I had all four most of the time. And I see her all week.
You think she listens to you?
My daughter? No, I know that. She don't always listen.
I have a drug
But
test.
I could tell if she's high on drugs, especially cocaine or something. And she took a voluntary drug
Yeah,
test.
I took a voluntary drug test.
Did you take a hair follicle test?
No, this is just
Don't listen
an
to me.
observed.
Shh, listen to me. Did you take a hair follicle test? You took a urine test?
Correct.
Listen, Miss Levy, I've been in the business a long time. You want to do a hair follicle test?
That's fine.
Fine. Do a hair follicle test. That part of your lawsuit that has to do with slander and drugs, I'll hold in abeyance.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay? That'll tell you within the last year whether you've used any drugs and what kind of drugs you've used.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. You understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now you can sit down.
All right.
Talk to your daughter about birth control. That would be
It's
useful.
fixed.
Miss Amrit, you can't dispose of her property as cavalierly as you did. I believe you were annoyed that she had not given you any money, that she used some of your property, that the whole business was an unpleasant experience. So I believe that what you did was you sold some of it, maybe you kept some, maybe you gave some to your relatives, maybe you sold some for your relatives. You can't do that. Can I see the bills for the furniture, please?
Yes. That, and then I have this. And the couch and the high chair I have pictures of. I don't have a receipt for that.
What'd you do with the sofa?
I threw it away. It was awful.
Carson's Furniture and Bedding, is this all the stuff that you bought?
The ones that are checked on the side, the dresser, the mirror, the entertainment
A
center.
dresser, mirror, and a four-door chest, is that right?
Yes, and the entertainment center.
All this property was purchased, the delivery date was February 2005. So what you're telling me is you gave away a mirror that was new, a four-door chest that was new, and you sold an entertainment center. Is that what you're telling me?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Now, did you have any sort of an agreement with her to pay rent?
No.
Tell me about the agreement that you say you had for rent.
Your Honor, I'm a single mother. I explained to Miss Levy that I could not afford to support anyone else in my home, so she would have to pay something to me for rent. We agreed upon $150 a week for everything, Your Honor.
You mean food? Who would shop?
Correct.
Excuse me, I bought $200 worth of groceries a week before I left. So the groceries were paid for.
Okay. Miss Amber, you owe her $606. You can't dispose of her property. You can't sell her property. I believe that her family tried to contact you. I believe that you didn't want to be contacted.
That's not...
Unless you have a bill to show me of the truck that you hired to come and dispose of her property, other than the entertainment center, which you acknowledged that you told, I don't believe that you hired a truck to come and take the property out of your garage. Do you understand? And I wouldn't fib in front of my child. It's not a good thing. That's all. Step out.
Dorothy Kavanaugh says her son's ex-girlfriend, Stephanie Klein, made false charges to Child Protective Services. Stephanie is countersuing, claiming Dorothy's actions caused her to be fired.
Miss Kavanaugh, the defendant and your son were in a long-term relationship, although I don't see here that they were ever married. Is that
No.
true? Not married?
No, we weren't.
But you have 3 children together?
Yes, we do.
So how long did this relationship last?
Lasted 16 years.
Just curiosity, is there any reason why you chose not to marry?
I don't really believe in marriage. I'm too afraid to get married. Divorce is too expensive.
Your claim is that Miss Klein has some property that belongs to you.
Yes, she does.
In her home.
Yes.
After, of course, your son left. You want it back. And you also claim that Miss Klein made false charges to the Child Protective Services Agency about you, causing you severe stress. Miss Klein says she did not make those calls to Child Protective Services. She knows who did.
Yeah.
She says her girls did.
My girls did, and also Cassie and Christy, who are her witnesses.
And
they did it at their house.
And she said they found things that were troublesome to them. As far as the property is concerned, she says the property is hers. The property we're talking about is a pool table, is that right?
No, it's a poker
table.
card table or coffee table.
Okay. According to what you said, Ms. Kavanaugh, in your complaint, you gave this poker table, this table, to your son as a gift.
I lent it to him.
No, that's not what you said. You said you gave it to your son as a gift. You want me to read you what you wrote?
No, that's fine.
I know that you dispute that. I had given my son a custom-built poker table for his birthday.
Correct.
So let's deal with the poker table because that makes my life very easy. You have no interest whatsoever in the poker table.
Okay.
Got it? Once
Yes.
you give a gift, the gift is gone. And I don't see your son here. If he wants the poker table back, and if it's his, certainly not marital property because these people weren't married. So if he wants the poker table back, he can have it. But you can't because it doesn't belong to you. It would be like birds suing for the poker table. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get to the allegations of abuse and or neglect that were made to Child Protective Services. When did your son and the defendant separate?
February, she threw him out.
Were you working during the 16 years you lived together?
Yes, I was. I was basically the only one working in the relationship.
What were you doing?
I managed 2 bowling centers.
And who took care of the children?
Anthony usually did, and Dorothy.
What kind of work does Anthony do?
He worked on cars on the side.
No steady job?
No.
Why doesn't your son have a steady job?
He did have a steady job. He worked at the garage. It was in his name. He did have a steady job. He had his own garage at 25.
You mean for the 16 years that they lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he file tax returns on that?
No, he did not.
Well, if he had his own business and if he was making money, then that's a very serious crime that he committed by not filing tax returns for 16 years. Here he's got his mother swearing under oath that he had his own business.
He did on the side.
Hmm?
He did on the side, yes.
What do you mean on the side? On the side is something that you do when you have a full-time job elsewhere,
True.
Ms. Kavanaugh.
True.
On the side is not what you do when you have 3 children.
That's true. I agree with that.
Where is he?
He's working right now.
Doing what?
He works for Twin City Transmission.
What happened to his garage?
It was closed down after Stephanie and him got into trouble and separated.
Due to his alcohol and drug problem. He's on probation right now. And that's why he had to leave the home, because I did not want that around my kids. Took me a long time, but I was a victim of domestic violence until I got strong enough to do it on my own.
Fine. Well, he's certainly not here supporting his mother.
Or his children.
What makes you think that the defendant called Child Protective Services?
Because of the paperwork that I have and the statements that they made.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, okay.
No, don't give me all this paperwork, Ms. Kavanaugh. I want you to show me where in this that a call was made to this Child Protective Services by Miss Klein.
Oh, they don't do that.
Well, so
They don't-
what I want you to tell me is you direct my attention to somewhere in this stack of papers to evidence that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services.
Then it would have to come from my witness who told me that.
Fine. Who's the witness? That would be you. Stand up. Who are you?
Christy.
How are you related to these people?
That's my grandma.
But that's not your mother, so you have different parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you live, Christy?
Down the street from her. And
Down the street from your grandmother. Who do you live with?
my mom.
Now tell me what you know about Miss Klein calling Child Protective Services.
Her oldest daughter did.
Well, her oldest daughter is not her. Christy, listen to me very carefully. Do you know anything about Miss Klein calling Child Protective Services?
No.
Sit down. Do you have any other witnesses, Miss Kavanaugh?
I have Cassandra.
Be very careful if you're going to stand up here. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Stand up. Do you have any evidence that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services?
No, ma'am.
That was being good and careful. Yes, Miss Kavanaugh.
Okay, there's also a countersuit from Stephanie that I called.
I haven't gotten to the countersuit yet.
Okay. Well,
Do you have any other evidence that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services about your care of your children or grandchildren?
other than the piece of paper here that states that they investigated both her and I, which is
That's why I called him myself.
my name, Stephanie, and all 3 children. It
So
states
the
that it
answer
was
is you have
unfounded.
no, listen to me, so the answer is you have no evidence that it was Miss Klein who called Child Protective
No,
Services.
I cannot prove it was
So
her.
your case
No.
is dismissed in its entirety. The poker table doesn't belong to you, and you have no proof whatsoever that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services, so I don't even have to get into the fact that if she called them, whether what she said was true. Now I'll get to the counterclaim. Your counterclaim is that Ms. Kavanaugh called Child Protective Services with regard to you, your care of the children, and because of her harassment, you lost your job. I'd like to hear it.
I can't prove that she called, but
Then if you can't prove
Yeah,
that she
that's-
called, then you have
then
no
I
case.
I'm not positive that she called. Kids were visited because of it, in which they stated that Dorothy.
You can't tell me what they stated. Not necessary. I don't have to reach that threshold question because neither of you has any proof that the other was responsible for calling Child Protective Services.
That's part of
Let
my
me deal
case.
with Child Protective Services, these calls back and forth, whomever they came from. Calling Child Protective Services is like calling 911. You call 911 when there is some emergency, when you feel as if somebody is being threatened, when you feel as somebody is being placed at risk. And I'm not saying that those things weren't the case with these allegations that were made by whomever they were made. But it should be a felony jurisdiction, a very serious crime, for people to use calls to Child Protective Services in order to either incite or resolve or for retaliation or for retribution about some other issue because they have limited enough resources at Child Protective Services to investigate real allegations of neglect and abuse. And when people use that Child Protective hotline for other reasons, it infuriates me. And if it was my world, they'd be in jail if that's what they're using the hotline for. Having said that, we will move on to the next cause of action in your counterclaim, which is that Ms. Kavanaugh caused you to lose your job.
Yes, I had her as a sitter, also her son, who would drop the kids off to her even after I asked not to. She would get upset with them, drop them off at my work several times. She would drop them off at home unsupervised. She'd have them sitting on the porch in the middle of winter. She once set Jordan on the porch in the middle of winter with just a towel on because she didn't want to shower with her 10-year-old grandson, and she was 11 going through puberty at the time, which is disgusting.
Ms. Klein, listen to me. If what you're telling me is that because she wasn't a good babysitter, that caused you lots of stress,
Yes.
put your hand down. And you ultimately didn't show up for work and it caused you to lose your job, you have options. Your option is get rid of her as a babysitter.
I done did, and
then you can't sue her.
Thank
I mean,
God,
that's your
Christy.
option.
Well, she called my work, harassing my boss, calling the cops on him. I got the
Well,
letter
just
for
one
that.
second. Is your boss here?
No, but I have a letter stated to me why I was fired and a
I'd like to see the letter.
complaint from the Tonawanda Police Department.
I'd just like to see the letter first. Okay. Can I see the report to the police department? Did you at any time have her son arrested for anything? She says yes.
He used to
for
be-
what?
Harassment.
Well, he probably was harassing her because he's a drug addict. That's what she says. Is that true? Put your hand down. Is that true?
Not anymore.
I don't care if it's not anymore. You mean not today?
Not today, but she also is.
Listen, who's taking care of the 3 children? Who's taking care of the 3 children?
At the moment,
Yes.
a girl who had their children taken away from them, so I
Who do
heard.
the 3 children live with? I'm not talking about at this
Oh,
moment.
they live
while
with the
she's
mother.
here. They live with the mother, not with your son.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So, when did you have him arrested?
Actually, I had him arrested once, a couple times. I had to have him removed from the house because he would come in when we were sleeping. He broke in when we weren't home, slept in my bed when I went away.
These sources are 2006. Anything
Yeah.
happened in 2007 that's been harassment?
No.
Okay.
There was. I was afraid to do it. She's evil and very vindictive.
What do you want?
We both filed harassment against each other.
Well, I don't know why you should have anything to do with her except positive things with regard to your grandchildren, Miss Kavanaugh. You have a son that's problematic.
I took her
You
to
have,
court.
listen to me.
Yes.
Carefully.
Yes.
You have a son who's a problem.
Yes.
You have the mother of your grandchildren who has been supporting the family for 16 years because your son is a bum. There's no question that he's a bum because there's no question that they had to file tax returns because she worked for a company that wouldn't have paid her under the table. That your son, if he was working at all, which I somehow doubt, certainly has not filed tax returns and has not paid his fair share of our expenses as a community.
He was paying child support.
Well, what do you want me to do? Give him a gold medal for that? He made children. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yes.
Put your hand down. He's support. Yes. A lot, not a little.
Right.
So if I wanted to be supportive, I would be as supportive as possible if you were a reasonable grandparent of my 3 grandchildren and said to my son, listen, I tried my best with you. Maybe my best wasn't good enough, but I'm certainly not going to annoy the mother of my grandchildren who's trying to keep it together. Do you get my drift?
She wasn't
That's
trying to keep it together.
Do you get my drift?
I understand you, yes.
Perfect. And I wouldn't sue her for a stupid card table because that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
Terrell Taggart claims ex-fiancé Travis Miller owes for false allegations of assault, money taken from a joint bank account, and his share of wedding expenses.
Miss Taggart, you and Mr. Miller were engaged to be
Yes, ma'am.
married. You have a child from a previous relationship.
Yes, I do.
And the 3 of you live together.
Yes.
There came a time when that engagement and that relationship terminated. You were in the process of planning a wedding, and it is your claim that Mr. Miller owes you for a whole host of things. First, false allegations that he made with regard to an incident where he claimed that you bit him and assaulted him, emptying out a bank account that was yours, not giving you property back that belonged to you, and wedding expenses that you paid for. Mr. Miller says he doesn't owe you a dime. He also paid for wedding expenses. He says that the allegations of assault were absolutely true. He doesn't have any property that belongs to you anymore, and he really wants you to move on with your life because he says that his life has been made unbearable by you and your family, who have embarked on a constant course of harassment, including filing of multiple lawsuits.
Yes,
so
Your Honor.
far, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, when did this blissful relationship commence?
We got engaged on September 16th of 2005.
Were you living together at the time?
We didn't move in together until the next month.
You moved in together in whose home?
We rented an apartment together, and we both signed the lease.
And when was this argument that terminated the relationship?
The argument happened on May 10th, which was 10 days before the wedding was supposed to happen.
Is that when the assault allegedly took place, sir?
Approximately, Your Honor.
Not approximately.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You want to tell me what happened, Miss Taggart?
Yes, ma'am. I had gone to Morgan, where all of the wedding arrangements were to take place, to finalize the cake and the
Flowers.
flowers. I called him at work and told him I was going to be going, and he didn't want me to go.
Why didn't you want her to go?
Well, because, Your Honor, I wanted to participate in the formalizing of this wedding.
Then he told you that.
No, he did not tell me that.
What did he tell you?
He just told me that he didn't want me to go, and previously he'd told me that he didn't want anything to do with planning it, that it was my wedding and I was in charge of planning it.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went to him, called me several times, and was very upset. And
Well, what did he say to you when he called?
He would just yell at me. He was mad at me because I talked to my mother about how he was upset with me. He didn't want me to even talk to my mother about it.
Miss Taggart, I'm not getting a full picture. After you spoke to him on the phone and he was upset with you, did you call your mother?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why did you call your mother?
I called my mother because when I talked to him on the phone, I was very upset, and I just wanted to call and mostly have somebody just help me calm down so that I wasn't so upset. I was going to finalize wedding plans, and I didn't want to have tears running down my face when I was doing it.
Go ahead.
I finalized the wedding plans, and I called him when I was on my way home, as he'd asked, and he said, well, we'll just talk when you get home. And so I got home, and my son was asleep, and so I took him to bed in our bedroom.
How old is your son?
He's 7 now. He was 6 at the time.
If he was sleeping, where was he sleeping?
He was asleep in the car on the way home.
So you went to finalize the wedding plans with your son?
Yes.
And when you got home, you put your son to bed in your bedroom?
Yes.
Is that where he usually sleeps?
Yes, he had a bed in the front room, but he'd often come and slept in our bed.
That's not an answer, Miss Tackett. 7 years old, they're supposed to sleep in their own room if they have a room. When he slept in your room, where did he sleep?
He would just sleep in the bed. I laid him in there because I knew that Travis and I were going to be having a conversation and I didn't want it to wake him. So I put him to sleep in our bed. And Travis was standing by the bathroom door when I got home. He gave me a hug and I went and I sat on the couch in our front room. And a few minutes later he came and he sat down in the chair across from me. And he started asking me questions and something about like $1,600 missing from the bank account. And I told him it was just all finalizing wedding plans.
Did you have a joint checking account?
We did. He was put on the checking account 2 months prior to this.
And you were working at the time?
Yes.
Who were you working for?
I was working for the Huntsman Cancer Hospital.
And you?
Yes, I'm employed for the state of Utah for JJS, Juvenile Justice Services.
Okay. So you were each depositing your checks in the bank?
Yes,
in this joint bank account? Okay, go ahead.
And so it started to get heated. He started yelling at me about all sorts of things. I remember I was holding a pillow sitting on the couch, and he stood over me, shaking his finger at me, telling me that I was weak and I was worthless, and he couldn't even believe he was attracted to me. And then he asked me to leave, and I was okay with that. At the time, I was fed up with the fight. I was ready to be done with the fight. And so I said, okay, I'll leave. And I went to go back to the bedroom to get my son. And Travis had been drinking prior in the evening. And Travis said, you're not taking him with you. And I said, he's my son and he's going with me. And I tried to get past Travis to go get my son, and he pushed me. And he did this repetitively. He pushed me into the wall, into the kitchen table, into the couch, down on the bed, down on the floor. And I did the pushing and shoving match for a minute, and then I said, you know what, I'm just going to call the cops. I grabbed my cell phone and I started to dial 911, and he grabbed my phone and he threw it across the house. After that, I went out and I was kind of freaked out. I stood there for a second and I decided that I had to get my son. And so I started to get violent with him. I did bite him on the upper left chest. I believe I bit him on the right forearm. I punched him, I kicked him. I was doing everything I could to get my son out of that house.
Why didn't you just go outside and call the police?
A moment of confusion.
Okay.
And so I started to get violent with him. And he said, you're not taking him, he's my son. And I said, you're not to him. And Travis then began to cry. He sat on the floor, and I tried to get past him again to get my son. He then grabbed my legs and threw me to the ground. When I got up again, I started punching him in the top of the head. And I finally got past him. Well, he ran into the bedroom following me, and the fight had escalated, and we were now in the bedroom. I didn't want my son to wake up, and so I laid on top of his ears. I covered his ears so that he wouldn't wake up.
All right, Mr. Miller, you want to tell me, please, your version of what happened on the night of May 10th?
Yes, Your Honor. While Ms. Taggart is emotional, the events that transpired. Yes, I'll take it. I'd gotten off work around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't drunk. I called to pay my cell phone bill, our cell phone bill, over the phone. And I knew from the day before, because she told me she would like to go do some wedding things, and I asked her, can I go with you? I don't go alone. I said, I got up at 4. Prior to this, I called the cell phone company, and they said, no money in your account. So I got home, and I was a little upset, sober, not drunk. And we did have an argument. Her son was sleeping in our room, and if we did have such a horrendous fight, he would have woken up in the first place. She did assault me. I didn't touch her. She could have called the police at any time. I did ask her to leave at that time because she was emotional. And that's about how it transpired, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Taggart. So let me explain something to you. Let's deal with the false allegations of abuse. There were no false allegations of abuse. You lost your cool, and you assaulted him. That's it. You bit him. You bit him here, you bit him here, you bit him here. I'm not sure whether I believe that he struck you and abused you, because if he did, the police would have arrested him. Did they respond to your home?
They did not. I actually tried to file a police report several times within the following weeks. I went to the desk, and the officer at the desk didn't care. They just shrugged me off.
Okay. There were many ways you could have handled the incident that occurred in your house on the 10th of May. You chose the most inappropriate one. Most appropriate one is if you're having a fight with him, and if you were emotional, which clearly you were, it's not the right time to take your son out of a sleeping bed. There's no question in my mind that Mr. Miller was not going to hurt your son. So you go outside, you cool off, you call your mother, you call the police if you have to, say, I want to go get my son. But what you don't do is you don't bite him and kick him and scratch him and punch him, and then go inside and put your hands over your son's sleeping ears so that he won't be awake. That's stupid. You agree with that, don't you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Well, then that's your problem.
Because that's the right thing to do if you're a reasonable mother. Your daughter is emotional. She's your daughter, isn't it?
Yes.
Your daughter is emotional, and the truth of the matter is, on that day, May 10th, based upon what she told me, she did the wrong thing. She went to finalize wedding plans. He asked her not to go, to wait for him until he got out of work. She went anyway. There's no question he got upset with her. Instead of resolving the issue, she calls her mommy. Certainly, that's not the way two grown-ups are supposed to deal with their wedding plans. Your daughter got emotional. I don't believe Mr. Miller was drunk. I don't believe that for a minute. So, let's deal with the bank account. You say, Miss Taggart, that Mr. Miller emptied the bank account.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
On what date did he empty the bank account?
It was the day immediately following the fight. It would have been May 11th.
How much money was in the bank account?
There was probably about 350-ish.
What do you mean 350-ish? Show me the account.
I don't know if I have the exact statement for that month.
Well, then I'm not interested in that part of the lawsuit, madam. That's what you're supposed to have here. Miss Taggart, if you come to court and you're suing because you say that he emptied out a joint bank account, what you have to bring is you have to bring proof of that. And that would be the bank statement for when he closed that bank account, how much money was in it, and it would also show me how much money was in it the day before the fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have that?
I only have the bank statements up until April, so I do not have that one.
Not interested. Okay, so empty out the bank account you don't have any proof of. Wedding expenses. Who was planning the wedding?
I was, as he had told me to.
Who was paying for the wedding?
I was, out of my income tax return.
So?
So that is where I come with the opinion that he owes me at least half of that.
He doesn't. There has to be an agreement. In the event that Mr. Miller said to you, which of course he didn't, I am going to pay for half of the wedding, then that's a contract. But Mr. Miller didn't say that to you. What you want is you want half the wedding expenses because there was no wedding, right?
This is right.
But that's not the way the law works. There's nothing in the law that gives you the right and gives me the right to say to Mr. Miller, well, it didn't work out, and you should pay for half the expenses. That's a different kind of court. It's a court that doesn't exist in this country. Now, what property do you allege that you left at his house?
There is a mirror that was given to me as a Christmas gift from him. He would not allow me to take it because he said it matched the bed that his father had given us as an early wedding present. There's an anatomy book that I like to refer to for work. It's a very expensive Gray's Anatomy book. Just a few little things. I had gone to his house.
Not interested in a few little things, madam. I'm waiting. So far, I have a mirror and a book.
Also, since the bed was given to us as a mutual gift from his father, I believe that I deserve half of the cost of the bed.
Got to get over it, Miss Taggart. Got to move on, Miss Taggart. Didn't work out. Didn't work out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terrell Taggart is accusing her ex-fiancé of false allegations of assault, stealing money from their bank account, and unpaid wedding expenses.
Okay. Did you buy her an anatomy book?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you have it?
No, Your Honor.
Where is it?
About 3 days after she had left, my house was burglarized, broken into, coincidentally enough.
When you say the house was burglarized, what was taken?
Everything, from couch, TV stand, television, all appliances, the mirror, blankets, you name it, it was burglarized.
Got it. Okay. Miss Taggart, you have to get over it. Move on. Put your hand down. Don't encourage her. Encourage her to move on.
I have encouraged her to
Good.
move on.
Good. Move on. It's over. You find somebody else. Devote all of your energies to something else. It's finished. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Bail bondsman Aaron McAllister says former client Elena Zadevich owes for unpaid bail money.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Zadevich?
I was arrested on false charges of domestic violence that my ex filed against me.
I didn't ask you whether they were true or not true. I asked, what were you arrested for?
I was arrested on allegations of domestic violence.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
Yes.
Look at me. Was it the first time you were arrested? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Better. When was the first time you were arrested?
Several years ago.
Having nothing to do with domestic violence?
Has something to do with domestic violence.
So you have 2 arrests for domestic violence?
That's correct.
Was it the same complainant in each case?
Different.
Different. Okay. You are a bail bondsman?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that you received a call from the defendant in jail. You responded. You bailed her out of jail. At her request, she promised to pay for the bond. She did not. You want your money.
Yes.
Defendant says you're a sleazy bail bondsman and she's not paying you.
Correct.
When did you receive the call?
Sometime in the middle of the night from the county jail.
What night? I'm not Karnak. What night would
I'm
you
sorry.
like to tell me it is?
July the 15th.
In the middle of the night. You were home?
Correct. In bed.
How did you get his number?
It was posted on the wall in the county jail.
You have your home number posted in the wall in county jail?
No, ma'am. It's an office number that forwards to my cell phone in the evening and weekends.
I see. I wouldn't think that you'd want your house phone
No.
to have a number. Okay. What did the defendant say to you when she called?
That she was in jail and she had to get out. She had to get to work the next morning. If she didn't get out, she would lose her job.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm an executive assistant.
For whom?
For a small media startup.
How long have you had that job?
Close to a year.
10 months?
Something like that.
Where did you work before?
I was managing a medical spa.
Where?
Walnut Creek, California.
Okay. You have any family here?
Just my 2 children.
How old are they?
6 and 2.
They live with you?
Part-time.
Who do they live with the other part of the time?
Well, my son lives with, my daughter part-time lives with her paternal family.
Maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. So the father's family, father's parents with her grandparents?
No, his brother and his family, they live very close by, about 10-minute drive from where I live, and she's there a lot because I work full-time.
Okay. So you had to get to work at the media startup company when you called him?
Correct.
Did you tell him that you were going to take care of paying his bail?
What happened was I told him that I didn't have any money.
No. When you called him on the phone from jail, you told him I don't have any money?
Correct.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not.
Right. I wouldn't.
Of course not, because if you tell you, please bail me out of jail, but I don't have any money, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, he's not getting out of his warm bed in the middle of the night. Madam.
Well, he did.
No. He did. The question was, did you tell him that you didn't have any money?
Yes, I did.
He says you didn't, and I'm saying I believe him that at that time you didn't tell him I have no money. Because if he's in business and he gets a call from a stranger, you are a stranger, right?
Correct.
That I want you to get up out of bed, drive over to the jail and bail me out. But by the way, I have no money. He'd say, call somebody else.
That's exactly what I said.
All right. I don't believe you. Go ahead.
We discussed that she had a CD, and the CD was maturing within the next 30 days, and that there would be ample
That you would have money.
Correct. In the CD to pay me out of the proceeds of the CD. And she didn't want to cash it in early because she didn't want to pay the penalty. I agreed to those terms within 30 days that she would use the CD.
Was this on the telephone?
That was on the telephone.
Okay. Because you did ask her the question about money.
Correct.
And when you said, do you have money, what did she say?
I have a CD.
Okay. So, did you tell her how much the bail would be?
Correct. 10%, $5,000.
Because she had $50,000 bail?
Correct.
That's a high bail for domestic violence.
It is.
Do you know why it was so high?
That's per the schedule in that county. That's always $50,000 for a felony charge.
It was a felony.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get her out. We memorialize our agreement in writing. She
Can I
signs
see it,
a
please?
bail contract and the agreement to pay.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so you signed an agreement to pay him the $5,000.
I had no choice. He made me sign it.
But listen to me very carefully, madam. You have a choice. Your choice is to stay in jail until the matter on which you were arrested for is tried. That's your choice. You
Your
chose.
Honor, we had a different agreement.
No. This is your agreement. This in here is your agreement, in the four corners of this agreement. And what I asked you was, did you sign this agreement? And the answer is either yes or no, not
Yes,
I was forced
did
to
sign
sign
that
it.
agreement, but aside from that, there was an oral agreement that took place between me and Mr. McCollister.
I'll get
and
to
I
you in
had-
a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Once the agreement's signed, I get her out of jail. She says, now what do? I live 30 minutes from here. I agreed to give her a ride. She's worried about getting to work, so I give her a ride. And it's about 30 minutes away. So during that time, she tells me the entire story about the arrest, and I attempt to be understanding that, she was arrested, and I'm sorry, and that's a bad thing, and you're dealing with a breakup, and, how she caught her boyfriend with his new girlfriend laying on the couch that she paid for or she picked out. And the entire time in the car,
Would you look at me when you're telling me this story, Mr. McAllister? Look at me. Don't look down there.
Sorry. The entire time in the car, she says, I'm not a stalker, I'm not a stalker. Okay, sorry, you're not a stalker. No problem. Okay, I'll get you to your vehicle. Well, the vehicle's parked 3 blocks away from the house where she was living or where she was arrested. So there's obviously something going on there. Anyway, I get her out. She signs the agreement, and she refuses to pay
just
me.
a second. When did she sign the agreement?
Immediately upon release from the county jail.
Okay. And then you drove her to her car.
Correct.
And you dropped her, and she never paid you.
Right. I made
When, for the
repeated
first time, did you contact her with regard to payment?
Well, within 10 days, we sent her an invoice, just a reminder of the payment terms, and sent her 4 or 5 subsequent invoices that went answered with these rambling letters talking
Do you have
about...
a copy of the letters?
I do.
Can I see them, please?
Those are her letters to me and then my responses.
Based upon our discussion, these are your words, when he initially asked you for your money. Based upon our discussion, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you and your business in lieu of paying you $5,000 for a relatively risk-free, as you put it, bond. I am still awaiting the opportunity to make good on my offer to work for your company. As you were advised at the time the bond was posted, I have not, or do not have now, $5,000 fee that you are demanding. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time of the unsecured bond was posted, I now consider your correspondence demanding $5,000 to be intimidating and threatening. What, are you crazy? Please do not send me any more threatening letters. You knew my financial predicament at the time bail was posted. I still intend to honor my promise to perform professional services for you. You never promised to perform professional services for him. Your own letter says, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you or your business in lieu of paying for the bond. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time, I now consider your... Discussions aren't a contract, madam.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
Because
go
he's
ahead.
not telling you the whole truth.
Go
what
ahead.
happened, he bails me out.
Are
he
you,
knows I
just a
don't-
second, are you telling me the whole truth? Listen, are you
Yes.
telling me the whole truth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
About your children's living arrangements, you're telling me the whole truth?
We're not talking about my children right now. I
All
want
right.
to tell you.
You mean you're telling the truth?
about what
Listen to
happened.
me. You're telling the truth sometimes, and sometimes you can lie. And when am I supposed to tell the difference? You see, I knew that you were lying to me about your children's living situation. That you're not willing to discuss.
What do you
Listen to
lie
me.
about?
Listen to me. My question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're lying, and how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth?
I do tell the truth.
But you just lied to me today.
About what?
You lied about your children's living situation.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
How did I?
Oh, yes, you did. And you know you did. You know that they live with me part-time, they live with some part-time, they live here because I work. It's not the story. But that's a story you chose to tell me. Now, you told me that with the same veracity as you told me that you had another contract with him. And my question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth and when you're lying?
What I'm saying is the truth.
Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, and then I'll tell you what the law is.
Okay. Well, he bails me out. He drives me to my vehicle. On the way to my vehicle, he makes comments about, and he says, well, it would be nice if a pretty woman like you worked for my company, doing some sort of marketing and promoting my company, and maybe we can work something out in terms of paying for the bail bond that he posted on my behalf. So when he dropped me off by my vehicle, and before he left, he made me sign the agreement that you saw after we had the conversation of me potentially working for his company.
Did you get what you said to me, madam? You just said to me, maybe you could work for my company. Maybe you could work for my company.
And
that's
he asked
not an
me-
agreement.
No, he.
That's
and after
not.
that-
No. After that, nothing. You took that, and I believe that you said that to her. Well, maybe you could work for my company and do something. Maybe you said it to her. Who cares? It's not relevant. There was no
I
contract.
said I couldn't work for him full time as he proposed.
It doesn't.
So he
No,
said,
madam.
We can work something out, and you can work for me on weekends.
Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
Yes.
No, I have
you
a
are, because
letter.
according to what you said to me, after you had that discussion, after, not before. You see, he said you signed this at the jail.
No.
You say I signed it after I had the discussion with him
about working with him part-time, weekends, etc. If that was true, that's not contained in this agreement.
No.
And I believe, madam, that you are one smart cookie. And if he had this conversation with you where you made a contract with him, a contract that's enforceable, to work off the bail bond by working for him part-time, you would have put it in this agreement because you're already out of jail. You see, you're already out. Because you're already bailed out. So then you could either say to him, I'm not signing this. Or you say, it's not the entire agreement that we have. But you didn't. You signed it and said, I promise to pay you $5,000.
Well, he told me right there that if you don't sign it, I'm just going to put you right back to jail. That's what he told me.
I don't believe you. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
You're making it up as you're going along because if he said to you, you signed this or I'm going to take you back to jail.
That's what he said.
Your response would have been, well, then put in our agreement that I could work it off, right? Right?
I was very stressed.
Oh, listen, it's not the first time you were arrested.
Signing.
That's why I asked you the question before. It's not the first time. It's probably not the second time that you were arrested. So pay him his money. You owe him his money. Don't be a con artist. Judge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Charnita Christopher is suing her former friend and child care provider, Vashni Dixon, for her share of money paid to Vashni by the state. Vashni is countersuing for unpaid child care fees.
Miss Christopher, Miss Dixon was a friend of yours.
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
is your claim that at some point she needed some assistance. You needed some assistance with child care, and the state was paying for your child care costs.
Yes,
You engaged Miss Dixon to watch your children with the following arrangement, that she would share those child care responsibilities with your aunt, and then they would split the check. It is your claim that when Miss Dixon got the check, she kept the whole check for herself, and you want half the check so that you can give it to your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Dixon says that there was no aunt, that she watched the children, but that you wanted her to split the county check. You would keep half, and she would keep half. And she felt that that was very unfair since she had the responsibility of watching the children. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is nonsense. Her counterclaim wants you to pay the difference between what the county paid for child care and what she thinks she deserves for child care, the overage, because that's what it says in the contract from the state. Well, that's not the contract you had with her, Miss Dixon.
When she told me, we made the agreement.
Miss Dixon, that wasn't your agreement that she was going to pay you extra.
She was supposed to pay me $4 an hour. The state was supposed to pay that to me that they wouldn't pay all of that. It's her responsibility to pay.
It's not her responsibility.
How is it not her responsibility?
Because I say so. Because that wasn't your contract with her. Now, how many children do you have?
3.
How long have you been receiving child care money from the state for the 3 children?
Approximately a year.
Starting when?
It started again March 27th of 06.
And where were you working in March?
I wasn't working. It was for me to be able to look for employment at that time.
Well, did you find employment?
I found employment July 3rd. I was hired at Glamour Shots.
So you're telling me from March 27th until July 3rd, the state was paying you to look for a job?
Yes.
To watch your children?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she start to babysit for you?
August 7th, 2006.
And where were you working at that time?
I wasn't working.
Well, what happened to the job that you started in July?
Oh, August, Glamour Shots. I'm sorry, Glamour Shots.
Are you still working there?
No, ma'am.
When did you stop working there? It's very easy to find out by calling them. When did you stop?
August 15th. I have my check stubs.
All right, so you worked there for a month.
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you leave there?
Because they weren't giving me enough hours.
Well, so you left that job because they weren't giving you enough hours, and you went to the situation where you weren't working at all.
Yes, ma'am. There was a lot of other issues with that job.
So the county wasn't really getting a great bang for their buck by paying for your 3 children for daycare while you're looking for a job, and you had a job for a total of 1 month when you quit because they weren't giving you enough hours. Something doesn't sound right there, Miss Christopher. So she started working August 7th, and now a week later you're not working. So what are you doing when she's watching your children?
Out looking for work.
What does that mean?
I have to go to the workforce center, and they work with me to help me look for work.
Well, how many days a week do you go to the center?
It could be 4, sometimes 5.
Could it be 3?
It depends on what my job counselor...
When did you go to work?
Where did I go to work?
When? First is
I
when?
haven't. I'm looking for work right now. My children are not in child care right now at all.
So she started to work on August 7th. And when did you stop working?
I left her house on September 4th, I believe.
So you were there for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
How many hours a day did you watch the children, or did you live in her house?
She'd leave around maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't get back till like 8 o'clock at night.
What about this aunt? Do you know anything about an aunt?
I never heard anything about her aunt watching her kids before this.
Where's the aunt?
She's at home.
She's not here?
No.
Well, how do you expect to prove to me that somebody else babysat for your children?
I have the proof.
Show me. What kind of proof are you showing me?
Oh, it's the hours that my aunt kept the children. She typed this up. She has the license.
I don't accept that, Miss Christopher. That's hearsay.
Okay. Well, that's what I have.
Well, your case is dismissed. My dear, she got a check for watching your children. You have no proof that somebody else watched your children. Ridiculous. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Helen Levi says her daughter's ex-boyfriend, Dion Burdett, crashed 2 of her cars. Helen says on the second occasion, Dion was driving drunk.
What's your first name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, this used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
Your mother's complaint is that on 2 separate occasions involving 2 separate cars that she bought for you, you allowed Mr. Wonderful over here to drive the cars, and he totaled them.
Yes.
The first incident, there was insurance, and there was a $500 deductible. Second instance, she bought you another car. You again allowed, what's your first name?
Dion.
Dion, to drive the car because you don't learn from your mistakes, and he totaled the second car.
Yes.
Then you decided you had enough.
Yes, that's correct.
When was the first accident, Dion?
January 26th.
Tell me about that.
I asked her to leave me the car in case
Were
I
you
needed to
living
go.
together?
Yes.
How long had you been living together?
Approximately 6 months.
You asked her to leave the car. Why?
In case I needed to go somewhere because I didn't have insurance on my vehicle at the time.
Where was she going?
She was going to school.
And what were you doing that day?
I just sat at home all day until I went to pick her up and had an accident.
Was that a weekday?
Yes.
Well, were you going to school at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Were you working at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
I'm not really sure, Your Honor.
Well, how long was it that you weren't working, Dion?
Approximately 3 months.
Who was supporting you? Get her a copy of that book, Beauty Fades, Dumb is Forever. You were supporting him?
I wasn't really supporting him. My parents were helping me pay the rent. I was just helping him out.
So your parents were supporting him?
They were.
News to me.
See what you find out? What do you do for a living?
I'm a housewife.
And your husband?
He's an investment representative.
So he works?
Yes, he does. Very hard.
How long have you been married?
22 years.
In the 22 years that you've been married, how many months has your husband been out of work?
None.
Never.
Never.
Right? Never. How old are you?
22 years old, Your Honor.
Before you moved in with Jennifer, where were you living?
At my parents' house, Your Honor.
What does your father do?
He is an airplane mechanic at O'Hare Airport in Chicago.
Do you ever remember a time when your father sat around eating bonbons for 3 months and not working?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Why do you think that is, Dion?
Because he has children to pay for, Your Honor.
Because he likes to eat.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like to live in the street.
No.
Now, when you left your parents' house, were you working?
Yes, I was.
Where were you working?
Cub Foods.
Doing what?
I was in the meat department, cashier, dairy
What happened to that job?
I lost it.
Why?
Due to too many absences.
Why were you absent?
I was sick, road conditions, stuff like that happens.
What was wrong with you?
I had the flu. I mean...
For 3 months?
No, not for 3 months, but I mean, I was out of work for 3 months.
All right, now let's get to the first accident, Dion, because I've tortured you about your responsibility in growing up long enough, because even I'm getting bored with it. I don't know if I'm getting through to you, sir. If you want to be a grown-up and live out on your own, you have to work. 22 years old, still not fully cooked, probably, but that doesn't mean you live off the kindness of strangers. She's a stranger to you. She has her own children, and if she's supporting her daughter, and if her husband is supporting her daughter, they don't have to support you, too.
I That's true.
Thank you. So you asked her to leave you the car just in case she wanted to go looking for a job that day.
True.
I almost forgot how entertaining this could be. Sort of forgot how dumb people can be. All right, so you kept the car so you could go and look for a job, but you didn't go and look for a job. Where did you go, Dion?
I didn't go anywhere.
You mean the car had an accident in the house? How did that happen? Explain that to Officer Byrd. He would really like to hear that.
I was on my way to pick her up from school, Your Honor.
Had you gone anywhere else that day?
No, I haven't.
You just stayed home and watched Oprah?
Yeah, I guess. That's what you say.
No, you tell me what you did.
Oh, well, I didn't watch Oprah, but
What did you watch?
TV.
You watched me.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Like I said,
you would have watched me more frequently, Dion, you would never be here today. Never.
That's true.
Happened.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so you went to pick her up from school, and what happened?
I was at a four-way stop. I stopped at the stop sign, looked both ways, looked forward. Nobody was going, so I started going. Here comes a car. Bam. Took off the front end, airbags, everything.
Okay, so this car came out of nowhere.
Well, it was sitting at the stoplight, at a stop sign, when I looked left, and it wasn't going, so I just barely tapped on the gas, just started going, and then here comes this Mustang out of nowhere.
The plaintiff says you got a ticket for failing to yield.
True.
So then I guess the accident was your...
No.
Did you pay the ticket?
No, I didn't.
Did you have a trial?
Yes.
Were you found guilty or not guilty?
I didn't go.
Well, if you didn't go, then you were found guilty?
No, I wasn't, because they still got the insurance money.
We're not talking about insurance money, we're talking about ticket. You got a ticket for failure to yield. My question is a very simple one, Dion. You have to pay attention. I know you've been resting your brain for a long time, so you should be able to pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Ticket. Did you pay the ticket?
No, I didn't pay the ticket.
Was the ticket dismissed?
Yes.
Was it dismissed after a hearing?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't even want to go there anymore. Right? All right. So that's the first accident. And that car was totaled. You had a $500 deductible.
Correct.
When your daughter called you and told you that the boyfriend had totaled the car, what did you say to her?
I didn't know the boyfriend had totaled the car right at first. It was some time before I found all the facts.
She told you she had totaled the car?
She said it had been wrecked.
How did she tell you it had been wrecked?
It went through a stop
It went
intersection. The road conditions were icy, had a lot of ice on the road.
Who did she tell you was driving?
I finally dragged it out of her that he had been driving.
Did you lie to your mother, Jennifer?
I had just told her that I was the one who got in the wreck because I didn't want to have to
deal with...
Yeah, I didn't want to deal with the whole...
All right, now that was January 26th. And then you said, okay, I'm going to get her another car because she needs a car to go to school.
Right.
How much money does your husband make?
Not enough to be buying her a car every year or two because he wrecked it.
Now, when did you wreck this second car, Dion?
On or about May 20th.
Tell me about that.
I had dropped Jennifer off at approximately 10 o'clock p.m.
Where?
At her friend's house. Told her specifically...
Was this a Saturday or a Sunday?
Saturday.
Where were you working then?
I was, believe...
That's not so long ago, sir. Where are you working now?
Painting.
Portraits? Houses?
No,
What?
houses.
Houses. You're going to have to stop paying me if you enjoy this job so much. When did you start painting houses?
3 months ago.
So that would bring you into June. Now, so in May, were you working?
No, I wasn't. I was in search of a job due to previous legal problems.
What kind of legal problems?
Truthfully?
No, I want you to lie to me.
I mean, I can if you want me to. I'm not going to,
Don't
though.
be a wise guy, sir. I will grind you into the carpet. Go ahead.
I got a felony and
For
about
what?
distributing marijuana, 1 ounce, 10 to 30 grams.
That's what you were doing. Now I understand. In between painting and meatpacking, you were distributing marijuana.
No, I did a favor for somebody that I thought was a friend and obviously wasn't, and told on me, and I got in trouble for it.
So it was somebody else's fault?
No, it wasn't anybody else's fault but my own for trusting somebody else.
So you were doing a favor for somebody, you weren't going to get paid for it.
Right.
You weren't going to get a piece of the action
No.
for it. At least if you were selling it and making some money, I could understand that. You're a real idiot. All right. So now you're looking for a job. And in May, you drop her off at a friend's house and told her...
Specifically that I was going to a local bar and have a few drinks and I'd be home early. Turns out I had a few too many. and got a DUI. I blew up .242, had a fatal accident, could have ended my life. Life-changing experience.
Just a second. Wasn't fatal.
No, it wasn't fatal. I mean,
you have
it
to
could have
watch
been.
your words with
right.
me. You have to watch your words.
Sorry.
You didn't kill
Let me
anybody.
read it. No, I didn't kill anybody, but it could have easily happened. I ran into a pole going 70 miles an hour.
So why aren't you responsible for the car, sir?
She willingly gave me the car knowing I was going to the bar. I didn't pressure her. I didn't put a gun to her head and say, give me the car. She said, okay, be back early. And I accept full responsibility for drinking and driving.
That's okay, because I'm going to enjoy this. Just go ahead and do your thing.
So your defense is that it was not your fault that you were given the car because she should have said, you can't take the car if you're going to drink. Leave the car here and go, take a bus to go to the bar.
I accept full responsibility for drinking and driving. I'm paying for it dearly. I have the papers right here to prove it.
How are you paying for it?
I have 100 hours community service. I have $1,900 in fines, and I lose my license for a year or maybe more.
Well, how does that help Miss Levi?
I've given Jennifer $600 already.
You've given her $6, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So you accept responsibility for this accident. It's not Jennifer's fault.
No.
Jennifer is stupid.
It's not Jennifer's
Jennifer's going to read the book, cover to cover, backwards and forwards. Don't hook yourself up with a loser. If you hook yourself up with a loser, you're a loser. What kind of school are you going to?
At the moment, I'm just working full-time. I'm trying to save money so I can go back to school.
If you're going to school and moving forward and your family is trying to help you get there, you don't hook up with a loser who's unemployed. You don't hook up with was he arrested for this distributing marijuana while he was living with you?
No, that was way before I met him.
But you knew about it?
I did find out about it eventually.
Well, it seems to me Dion kept a lot of things from you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,400. Thank you. That's all.
Frances Garcia is suing her mother, Joan LeGrand, for the unpaid interest on a loan. Frances says her mother has a gambling problem.
Miss Garcia, Miss LeGrand is your mother.
Yes.
And some time ago you made a loan to her, a loan which she acknowledges. It's a loan for, I think, $1,500. Is that right?
Yes.
And she paid you back the loan?
No, not fully.
How much does she owe on the loan?
The loan itself, it's $100 or $200.
You said 100 or 200. Well, this is a court. Be specific. Does she owe you 100 or 200?
Let me check here, so I can be specific. 100 difference.
It was a $1,500 loan. She paid you back $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
What did you need the money for, Miss LeGrand?
Well, Your Honor, I had some court-ordered debt that it needed to be paid to Sacramento, and to me that was a very urgent matter and needed to be taken care of, and that's why I got the loan from her to pay them.
Do you agree that you owe her the $100 on the original loan?
If she says I still owe her $100, I guess maybe I am $100 short, because the last payment that I made to her was $200, and I believe it should have been $300.
Okay. So you acknowledge that perhaps you owe her $100. She says that you do, but she doesn't want $100. She wants $1,600. You're going to tell me why?
Because my mother at the bingo hall came up to me, you can see this on the bingo paper, with this, and she said, Dee, can you read this and then let me know something? Well, per her contract, it states here, $500 for court fines. Then it also says $500 that she owes the state. Well, then her total at the bottom is $1,500. I said, Mom, what do you need the other $500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Okay.
So, anyways, per her contract, it says, if you would like to read it, Judge, the payment would be paid as follows. It's here starting May the 3rd, $200.
Just a second. She acknowledges she owes you $100 on the original $1,500 loan.
Yes.
But you want $1,600.
Yes, because that's why I loaned her the money. She agreed to pay me $3,000 back.
So she agreed to pay you double the loan, 100% interest. Is that right? And that's what you want?
That's what I want.
When did you make her the loan?
On April 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
And when did she finish paying you the $1,400?
When did I have to press her to finish paying me?
When did she pay you?
Let me see. She did not pay in August 3rd because she spent it in Las Vegas.
Listen to me.
Okay, I did hear your question.
Listen to me. If you heard my question, give me the answer. When did she finish paying?
The 18th.
Of what month?
August.
Now, did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no. We just talk whenever we see each other.
The laws of this country, in each jurisdiction, preclude, do not allow people to charge usurious interest rates.
She made the contract.
Listen, I want you to open up, put on your listening ears.
They're here.
Courts will not enforce a contract with usurious interest rates. They're against the law.
Okay, fine. Well,
good. Then she owes you $100.
I don't feel that's correct, because even if you use a credit card to get the money, there are 22.99% interest.
And?
So what's the difference? She's not paying me any interest. I didn't loan it to her just as a gift.
Let me tell you what the law says, just so that you're aware of it.
Please, enlighten me.
I'm going to enlighten you, and I'm going to do it quickly because I have other fish to fry today. The law says that if you make a contract that's against the law, and it is against the law to charge too much interest, then the courts will not enforce that contract with any interest.
Oh, it's nice to know the law.
Good. Now you know it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100, which you acknowledge you owe her. That's all.
Kathy Jesse claims psychic Leon Legant borrowed money from her and never paid it back. Leon says the loan was repaid with free psychic readings. He is countersuing for slander.
According to what I read in the complaint several years ago, you knew Mr. Legant, who was a psychic reader?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he owns a psychic school?
Correct.
How long had you known him?
I first met him in 1998.
How?
I saw an advertisement of his in a newspaper.
And have you been using him for readings since?
Counseling, yes.
What particular training do you have?
Clairvoyant training of a 1-year intensive, 3 years of teacher's training. I have over 6 years of training. I also have my certificates if you'd like to see those.
In any event, you wanted to take a trip. Mr. Legant was interested in going. We discussed it. He didn't have the money. According to you, you loaned him the money to go, and the understanding was that he would pay you back either in cash or readings.
True.
He went on the trip. For a while, he did, in fact, pay you back by doing readings. Somebody would keep a record of, I assume, of how much each reading was, and you would check off how much was left on the debt. At some point, he missed a scheduled appointment.
Well, actually, Your Honor, he was making payments also. There was no set schedule for our appointments. It was whenever we decided.
So he was paying in cash as well?
Actually, yes. That was mostly the agreement.
In check and or cash?
He would deposit it directly into my account, and sometimes he paid in cash, and sometimes he wrote a check. I have the deposit slips.
I'd like to see them.
Sure.
I mean, he had your bank account number?
Well, yes.
Did you have a...
Well, it wasn't very friendly in terms of a social relationship. I mean, we knew each other professionally, and I trusted him as a teacher and my mentor.
All right, so I see you made some payments to her.
That's correct.
So you consider this a loan?
No.
Well, what was it for?
It was a donation.
No. What was the money that you paid her?
That was the interest. Initially, this is the 3rd trip I've been on with Miss Jessie.
We're talking about only this one, sir.
Okay. So in this case, Miss Jessie wanted me to go on a 2nd trip to the Philippines. I clearly explained to her that that was not something I could afford. So she decided to make a donation to the school so that the school could sponsor my trip. In exchange for that donation, she was to receive hours of readings. The payment she received was when she asked for me to cover the interest on her visa. And I agreed to do that. I was grateful for the donation. I was grateful for the donation. I have the donation right here. I have the check.
I see it too.
It says donation with a big smiley face.
Were these paid out of a private account or the school account?
It was paid out of the school's account.
So all these checks were school checks? None yours?
Right.
You're not very clairvoyant, sir. Show this to the defendant, please. That's not the school's account, is it?
Oh, no. I may have used my own account to make a check payment. That's entirely possible.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see that one coming, did
What?
you?
You didn't see that one coming at all? Show him this one. Your account or the school's account?
That's my account.
One more. Uno más on this page.
Also my account. Your Honor, the...
Stop! I'm not going to read your account number, sir, but it also appears that when cash was deposited directly into her account, it was deposited directly into her account with the same numbers on the accounts that were on these checks.
Can I see that?
Yes, certainly. Here you go.
Huh, that's interesting. Because when I called the bank to get copies of this so that I would know in preparation for you, they explained to me there was no way to trace that information.
Well, you do see what I'm looking at, don't you?
I do see what you're looking at. And the agreement I had with her was to pay the interest on her card.
All I'm asking you is whether the cash and the checks that she ascribes to this loan came out of the school's account or out of your personal account.
Right.
So you would be saying now that it came out of your personal account.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I believe there were others that were taken from the school's
I'm
account.
looking to see yours.
And
you have
like
any
I
proof?
said, the bank said
Listen,
they couldn't
no.
trace this
No,
information.
listen to me, sir. Listen to me. Show me any checks that you have from the school to pay her.
I don't have this.
I do, however, see some checks, sir, that just say banks like they're from a different account.
That's right.
So sometimes you paid out of your personal account and sometimes you paid out of the school account. You getting my drift, sir?
Not fully.
Well, when you have a business and you start commingling money as to what is a business expense and what is not, you have a serious problem. And clearly, in looking over this paperwork, it appears to me as if you were commingling what you considered a business expense with a private debt. The IRS doesn't like that. You should know that.
I did what I could to make sure she received her interest payments in a timely manner.
Don't you make a living from this company?
Yes, I do.
Then you should have paid her. Not commingled funds. That's a very bad thing, Mr. LeGrant. With commingled funds, the IRS is going to come and get you. Can you tell me what happened that precipitated this lawsuit?
He had made his last payment in November, and in December he promised me a payment on December 20th. And I was counting on that, and it was Christmas time, and I didn't get the payment. And I had an appointment with him scheduled for the 22nd, which I was going to discuss the matter with him, and then he didn't show up for the appointment and didn't let me know.
Does he come to your house, or do you go to his
No, it's a
school?
telephone. It's a telephone.
It's a telephone?
Yes, we hardly ever see each other in person. And so I left him a voicemail saying that, you know, I think that this was unfair and I should be treated better. And at which point he sent me an email saying that he really thought that was the most mean, vicious thing anybody had ever said to him. And he really, literally never talked to me again.
What did she say on the voicemail?
She was incredibly ugly. I never finished both voicemails because it was too irate and too mean, too vicious, attacking everything she could think of and everything she knew about me. Basically what happened in the beginning of December, I was still working with her and giving her readings. She explained to me that she lost her job, she was afraid she was going to lose the mortgage on her house, that she was in an incredibly strapped financial position. She began asking me if I could borrow money from my aunt to pay this balance off, and I explained to her that the agreement was an exchange of readings. This was not
Well, that's
a loan.
not true, sir. That's not true, because there were payments made both out of the school's account and out of your personal account.
That was
to her.
interest.
That's what you say. That's not what I find. Keep going.
So she was explaining all of this to me. I explained to her that this was not the agreement, this was not what I was going to do. She pressured me for a number of weeks. She did ask me to make a payment on the 20th in December because 25th was a Sunday and also Christmas. I explained to her that I get paid on a certain date, it takes a number of days to clear the bank. I'll do the best I can to try to do that, but that may not happen. And that went in one ear, right out the other.
All right, good. Did you make a payment in January?
I did not make a payment in December.
Did you make a payment in January?
Or
is my
January,
question.
or since.
Right. Why not?
Because she threatened to sue me.
She didn't sue you in January, did she?
No, she filed, actually on January 20th, I was on the way to the bank because she had left these voicemails. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to handle this situation, and I told her that I would get back to her in January.
Well, so you were sort of jerking her around.
No.
Because you didn't pay the amount in December, because you said you get paid on a certain day, and you don't know whether it'll clear and whatever. All right, so you don't pay it December 20th, you don't pay it December 23rd. There's December 27th, December 28th, December 29th, December 30th, December 31st. She doesn't hear from you until January 20th?
She received an email from me explaining that I felt her messages were incredibly mean and
Well,
that
show me
I
the
would...
copy. You have the email? I would like to see the copy of the email that you sent to her.
I was very angry.
People who owe money usually are angry. Okay, so they were the meanest, cruelest voice messages, and you choose to cut her off and not have anything to do with her until the holidays are over in December, because you don't want to be bothered during the holidays
Because
with any
my mom
bad
was in a serious
with any bad
accident.
vibrations. And I'll let you know how I plan to handle the future in January. Well, what'd you do at the beginning of January, sir? The holidays are over.
Yeah, I was thinking about how to handle the situation. I wasn't sure how to do that. The 20th was coming by in January. I decided to make
20th?
it the 20th of January.
Well, so you were thinking between January 2nd and January 20th.
That's right.
Let me hear your counterclaim, Mr. LeGrand.
After Miss Jessie complained about this December incident, she did request communication from me. I did say that I would communicate with her in January about the situation. Before I had a chance to do that, she went to my website. She scoured through all of the emails, addresses, everything she could get, and began emailing everybody from clients, students, about the situation. Very, very crazy emails.
Well, show me.
Sure. Here's one she sent to the travel agent. I'll give you all of them. And also, as far as missed appointments, that has happened in the past.
I'm not interested in that. All she does is talk to whoever she talks to about the fact that you owe her money.
These are my students
Who
that
cares?
she ripped off my website.
Who cares? Shouldn't have had him on your
It
website if
has
you'd
none
want.
of their business.
Listen to me. She's entitled to do that. She doesn't slander you, sir. She says that you have an honest dispute with her. She believes you owe her money, and you are not paying her the money that you owe her. She doesn't say anything scandalous about you. You may not like it, but she doesn't say anything that's actionable. Can you please explain to me how a school professing to be spiritual and ethical can attempt to steal this money loaned in good faith? That's the way she feels.
No, it wasn't alone.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something, sir. I am the final arbiter of that, and I'm telling you that it was a loan. It was a loan because you repaid it. And you not only repaid it, you repaid it, some of it out of your funds and some of it out of school funds, which you can't do.
That's not correct.
Listen. Some of the people that you deal with, Mr. LeGrand, may revere you as being some sort of spiritual leader. I guarantee you, I'm not one of those people. All right? I'm telling you, you went on a trip, you slept, you ate, you took a plane, you, not the spirits, your body took the plane to the Philippines and had a nice trip. Pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,697. That's all.
Bourbon McDaniel is suing her daughter, Glenda Julius, for the cost of her granddaughter's funeral. Glenda says her mother is heartless.
Ms. McDaniel, the defendant is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint is really a simple one. And your complaint is that you made 2 loans to your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And she has not paid you back. Your daughter says that these were not loans, they were really gifts. But the matter becomes more complicated because of the nature of the loans that you claim to your daughter. Miss Julius, you had a daughter who was murdered.
Yes, ma'am.
When was she murdered?
September 24th. She was found dead in her room.
In your home?
In her home.
Has the perpetrator of that murder ever been found?
There are 3 people apprehended as of right now for first-degree murder.
How old was your daughter? According to you, Miss McDaniel, you went to where your daughter was living, and your daughter did not have money for a burial.
That's right.
You agreed to loan her the money for the burial.
Yes, ma'am.
Subsequently, your daughter, who was not happy staying in the same house where her daughter was murdered, which is quite understandable because people had not been apprehended at that time, asked if she could relocate, and you agreed to loan her some money.
Yes, ma'am.
So that she could relocate. What was the extent of those two sums of money? The funeral was how much?
$4,582.27.
And how much did you advance your daughter to relocate?
$1,487.68.
The matter becomes more complicated because at some point, Miss Julius, you ascertained that there was a crime victim's compensation that you could apply for.
The DA.
The DA?
From Carroll County.
Told you what?
Told me that there was a victim's fund relief.
And what was it for?
It was for expenses for Jessica's death. And I have been making payments.
Just a second. Expenses for Jessica's death?
Yes.
Which included her burial?
Which my mother gave as a gift.
Listen to me very carefully.
Which included, yes.
So the state of Tennessee had a fund which provided for the survivors of victims of violent crime to give them money so that they could pay for burial?
Yes.
And other related expenses?
Yes.
You applied for that?
Yes.
And you got a check?
Yes.
How much was the check?
One was $5,300 and the other one was $1,024.
Can I see the paperwork surrounding those two checks, please?
There was a few gas expenses.
Can I see the paperwork? For the...
This is exactly what
Bert, I'll take a look
but
at
I
it.
have more different, I have receipts to where I have been paying my mother.
Just a second. They paid you $5,307.27 for the funeral. And then there are other related expenses, moving expenses. Are you telling me that you have proof that you gave some of this money to your mother?
Yes, I have.
I'd like to see it, please.
I have receipts. Here, this is it for money orders. She told me that her payments were $70 and $40. I talked to my sister Gail that's standing next to her over the telephone. She was in California. I talked to her and she said, have you been giving her money? I said, yeah. She told me $70 and $40 on her credit cards. And that's exactly, I've been giving her a little bit more.
Well, I see what you're talking about. You gave her $30, $40.
And it started on 11/3, excuse me.
I understand that, but these are very small amounts of money. When did you get the check from the state?
In April. She told me it was on credit cards, and as long as I was helping her out, there was no lump sum that I was supposed to give her. She knew I would have to go home. I have a headstone to purchase for my daughter, which is $910, and I'm working at a minimum wage job. I moved out because it was so unbearable to live with her in her house.
Let's go back a second. You got this money, which is about $6,500. What did you do with it?
I've been living on it, and also I have money set aside to buy Jessica's stone and money set aside to go home.
Well,
because
so
I cannot live.
Just a second. You just told me that the stone is $900.
$910.
Fine. And did you order it?
I've already talked to...
Yes. Don't play with this. Did you pay for it?
Not as of yet.
Why not?
Because she started this lawsuit.
What's the name of the company that's going to do the stone?
Memorial Gardens.
Well, you certainly have $900 for the stone because you got $6,500. And my problem with you, Mr. Julius, is because this is not a very difficult case. Whether your mother said to you, as you allege in your answer, it's the least I can do to give you the money for the funeral, right? That's what she alleges you said to her, or not. The good people of the state of Tennessee did not provide this money for you to live on. The good people of the state of Tennessee wanted to ensure that your daughter had an appropriate burial. So you cannot take their money and do what you want with it. You have to take their money and pay for her funeral. That's what it was earmarked for by the state. Because whether you and your mother, according to you, you colluded to defraud the state by her signing papers that said she's going to pay me back, and she really didn't mean that you were going to pay her back, that's a fraud on the state. I can't sanction that. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm working in a dry cleaners. I'm having trouble dealing with the public.
What kind of work did you do before your daughter's death?
I was working in a convenience store, third shift.
Your mother paid for the funeral. According to the claim that you put into the criminal injuries compensation claim for Jessica Dawn Julius, the funeral was $5,307.27. That's what you told the state, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the funeral was actually $45.82?
The difference was donations from the school where Jessica went.
What?
I have a paper that states each and every one that gave donation to funeral.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. The family that Jessica was, Lisa Stevens' family, were there and willing, and the whole town was willing to help out with this. My mother is the one that wanted me to move. I left everything I owned.
Listen to me. I'm not talking about the moving. I'm talking about the fact that you cannot take this money and live on it. I have to make a judgment whether the person who actually paid for the funeral, and that's your mother, or you who did not pay for the funeral, are the rightful recipients of this money from the state, which is earmarked for your daughter's burial expenses. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were some very nice people from the town who also sent checks in for the funeral. But that's not the issue. The issue really is a very simple one. Whether your mother, at the time that your daughter died, and I believe that she probably did, say to you, this is a terrible time. I don't want you to worry about the funeral. I'll take care of it. Because that's what a parent does. But then when you found out that there was a possibility, because you said that the district attorney told you that there was a fund, that was after your daughter was buried, correct?
Yes.
So after your mother laid out that money, and probably would not have sought to recoup it because you have limited circumstances, that'd be a fair statement. But after she found out that you were going to get this money from the state for the funeral, the right thing for you to do was to give it back to her.
I've been giving her close to $1,500.
No. That
so
may
far.
have been fine, Miss Julius, giving her $30, giving her $70, until you got $6,500. Once you got $6,500, you had to say, Mom, clean up the credit card, pay it off, because that's what this check was supposed to be used for.
Yes,
Do we
ma'am.
understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Let's not pursue this any further. Your family has had sufficient amount of sadness to last for a lifetime. So you have the money, and even if your mother is awarded the $5,000, you still have money left over for the headstone, and then some. Right? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Robert Skelsey says ex-girlfriend Chalise Roberts owes for rent and the return of his clothes. Chalise says the money and clothes were both gifts.
Have a seat.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge.
Mr. Skelsey, you and Miss Roberts, according to the complaint that I've read, dated for a period of time. You claimed that you made her a loan of $250 at some point for rent. In addition, after you were no longer together, you never lived together, but you probably stayed over occasionally at her house because you claim you have some clothes at her house that she refuses to give you.
A few nights, yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Roberts says that the $250 that you gave her for her rent was a gift, and that everything in the house that was yours, you took. When did you date Miss Roberts? From when to when?
We met each other in January of this year. We met off a chat line kind of thing. We just started dating right off the bat.
You both live in the same community?
Yes, in the same area, yeah.
And when was this loan that you gave to her?
The loan was in May. She was having financial difficulties.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with her when you discovered she was in financial distress.
Actually, she asked me. She said,
No.
She did. She asked me. She goes, I'll do anything for you. Can you loan me some money? I'm having financial difficulties. I said, can you ask, one of the fathers of your children
He offered to give
Listen
this?
to me, Miss Roberts. Don't speak again until it's your turn.
And she said that she didn't want to do it because she was scared of like a custody thing. I said, okay, I understand. I have the extra money, and I'm going to need the money back soon, but I have the money right now available to you. I said, so here's the money. I wrote it out to her landlord.
You have a copy of the check?
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
You want to go?
Yes.
Well, you shouldn't do that.
Okay, May 23rd. Was she late in her rent?
She wasn't working because she was sick.
No, no,
so
no.
was she late in her rent?
No, I'm asking you. This is dated May 23rd. Was this for May's
Yes.
rent?
Yes.
So you were almost a month late in your
Yes.
rent. Okay, so that's the loan. She never paid you back.
No, ma'am.
When did you stop dating Miss Roberts?
Oh, we stopped dating in like the end of February. We became friends with like benefits kind of thing. And, you know, I'm not one to move fast with a relationship. And her
Right.
feelings moved fast with me.
So you stopped dating in February,
Yeah.
but remained friends.
Oh, yeah, close friends. Very close.
And shortly after the loan, you stopped speaking?
Almost automatically right after the loan. She said she was busy with work and everything else, but all of a sudden a day-to-day, you know, call or hanging out or whatever becomes, I didn't hear from her for like a week.
Okay. And what clothes do you have at her house, Mr.
Nike
Sir?
sweatshirt, a Champion sweatshirt, and a Nike pair of shorts.
Okay. You're not going to bother me with those things, are you? You know how many years I went to school? You know how many years? A lot of years. You don't
More
think
than
I'm
me.
going to be bothered by your Nike sweatshirt or Nike sneaker, or whatever it is that you're just talking about?
I value my clothes.
Yeah, good. Shouldn't have left them at her house.
I thought I could trust her.
Listen to me. This is not a give and take.
All right.
Do you
Sorry.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
We're not on an equal footing.
Okay.
I will discuss this alleged loan.
I also have a proof on a tape recorder.
That
She admits to borrowing the money. I got it off my answering machine.
I'm going to hear it.
Right now?
Now's the time.
2 p.m. You are out of your mind if you think you're going to be taking me to court and thinking you're going to make $100 more than what you let me borrow for clothes? Come on now, Rob. It's ridiculous. There's clothes that you gave me to see what the you get out of me, all right? You want to do it this nasty way? I'm going to be a nasty and do it evil too.
There is a way to communicate, Miss Roberts, that doesn't involve profanity. You do understand that?
Yes.
Now, how old are you, madam?
26.
And how many children do you have?
I have 4.
And how many fathers do your 4 children
2.
have? 2 for the youngest, 2 for the oldest?
Yep.
No, she told me.
How old are your children?
9, 8, 6, and 5.
Okay. Why did you run short of money?
Because I was out of work, I was sick.
What was the matter with you?
I had strep and mono.
For how long?
For 2 weeks.
So what did you say to the plaintiff?
We were friends. I cried to him that I was late in rent. He offered to give me the money. At first, I said I didn't want to. And then, like a week later, I mentioned it again, how I was stressed out. And
No,
he
you didn't
offered
mention it again. That's not a mention. First, you told him, you cried, offered you the money, you said no. Okay, then it's over. You say no.
Right.
But then a week later, what did you say to him?
Then I was crying again, stressed out that I was behind. And then he offered again. And then I said yes.
Remember what I said to her?
I did. Sorry.
So he helped you out with the rent.
Yes.
And then you went back to work.
Yes.
So why didn't you pay him back?
Because then I got threatened with court.
Can I explain?
Well, just a second.
And it wasn't a loan to begin with.
Just a second. You know you have to pay rent. Miss Roberts, listen to me. Rent isn't something that comes up and bites you on the behind like a surprise. You know the first of every month you have to pay rent, right?
Yes.
This isn't an unexpected medical bill, an unexpected bill because your generator broke in your car, an unexpected bill because the brakes went dead. This is a set bill, you know. $250 for rent.
Your Honor, can I explain something?
Yes.
She said she was going to pay me on a certain day. I didn't get a phone call. I tried calling her 1,000,000 times in one day. I went to her house, not trying to harass, but, you know, make good on the deal. We're friends. Why are you going to avoid me? And then she tells me that she's stiffing her landlord because she wants to get out of her lease. So what makes her think she ain't going to stiff me?
Just a second. What do you mean she was stiffing her landlord? What is
She
that?
doesn't even live at her current address.
Yes, I do.
Well, you told me you were going to stiff your landlord and your
How
phone
do you,
got
no,
shut
listen
off.
to me. Did she explain that to you, sir? How she was going to stiff her landlord just by not paying him rent?
Said that she wanted to get out of the lease, and the only way she could get out of it is by not paying her rent.
So then
I'm
why did
still
you
at
give
my
her 200?
address.
Shh. Then why did you give her $250?
Because she didn't have the money for rent, and her landlord said she'd get thrown out on the street, and I did it for the kids. I didn't do it for her.
All right, Miss Roberts, was he annoying you after you stopped taking these phone calls?
He wasn't annoying me. We were still really good friends. And we went for a walk one time. I do long walks to exercise. He came with me, and he asked me how come I haven't talked to him really, how come I seem so distant. And I told him because I was kind of seeing someone else, and he got mad.
Oh, that's a lie.
Shh. Just.
I knew you were, though.
Just.
Oh, you were dirty.
Listen to me. If you open your mouth again, I'm going to say goodbye. Do you understand?
Yeah. Wow.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. You got to understand, please. I'm sorry.
Miss Roberts, I want you to pay very careful attention to me. My sense is that you've made a certain amount of mistakes in your life. I think based on your history that that's a fair statement. You have 4 children, only 2 of them live with you. You got yourself in a financial pickle to the extent that you couldn't pay rent at your age with 4 children. That suggests to me that you've made certain tactical errors in your life.
No, I don't think so.
Well, from a more mature perspective, I'm telling you that if you have a 9-year-old child and you're 26 years old, then you've made certain mistakes in your life. You have to wait until you grow up. You have to wait until you grow up to have children. Otherwise, you have 2 children who don't live with you. Now, what you don't want to do is make another mistake. Uncross your arms.
I'm sorry.
He can be a problem. I want you to take that from somebody who has been around people for a very long time in this circumstance, and I'm telling you that if pushed, he can be a problem. So what you have to do is you have to say, do I want another problem in my life? Do I want this man angry with me, lives close by, I have a new relationship? Do I want him to have any connection to me that I can avoid? If not, and the only thing that's holding us together is a $250 rent check and a Champion sweatshirt, I can either have peace or I can have grief. And if you're a mature 26-year-old, you say, $250? Price of peace? It's well worth it. Do you understand?
Payment he wanted back was sex
Listen to me.
for that money.
Do you
That's
understand?
all.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Does that make sense to you? For $250 and a Champion sweatshirt, I can have peace, or I can have him annoyed with me, feel as if he's been used, feel as if he's been taken, feel as if he's been abused, feel as if he's been made a fool of.
I did all the work there, too.
Sorry.
Not ever again.
Do you understand what I mean? He can't control himself.
Oh, I know.
That's what you want?
No.
You're an idiot if that's what you want. So I'm going to help you along. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all.
Excuse. Nina Taylor is suing 25-year-old Amanda White for taking back a 1998 Ford Contour she donated to her. Amanda claims Nina misappropriated the donation.
Miss White, according to what I read, you gave Crystal a car.
Yes.
So you gave it to her.
Yes, ma'am.
As a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
When you gave Crystal the car, her mother invested money to have the car fixed. Then, according to Miss Taylor, you took the car back.
Yes, ma'am.
And she wants the money that she invested in the car because you took the car back. So now I have to figure this out. Which one of you 2 ladies is Crystal?
Me.
Crystal, stand up next to your mom. When did you give Crystal the
late July.
What kind of car was it?
A Ford Contour.
What year?
98.
How many miles did it have on it?
Approximately 200,000.
Okay, so it didn't have much value to it.
No.
And why did you give her the car?
The whole purpose, I paid the car off, and I said that when I get a new one, my whole point of not trading the car in was to give it away to somebody who was in need when I found
Fine, so you
that
gave it to
person.
Crystal?
Yes.
And how did you know her?
We worked together.
Why did you take it back?
We were waiting for a title to the car because I had a lien. I had trouble getting the title because of the lien. Miss Taylor contacted me right before I got the title, and she told me that she was suing me. She did not want the title at that point. She wanted the money that she says that she put into it. So I told her that I wanted receipts and I wanted to verify with my mechanic.
You have the car?
Yes.
You just give it back to Crystal.
That's not true.
Just a second. Listen to me. Perhaps Miss White didn't understand, so I have to explain the law to you. When you give a gift, you cannot give a gift with tentacles. You don't have the right to say, well, I'm giving it to you because I want to give it to somebody who's needy. But then if you do something with it that I don't like, I'm going to take it back.
Well, it's the whole idea that I was being sued. If I'm being sued for $2,000, prove it.
She didn't want it.
Very
She
good.
didn't want the car. She didn't want the title. I told her I have the
Oh,
title.
fine. Well, just
Can I
give her
say
the.
something?
Just listen to me. Just give her the title.
I would at the door at her
Just
door.
a second.
I
Listen
went
to
to
me.
her door and told her I
Perfect.
had it.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it
Just
is.
a second. Listen to me very carefully. You're not entitled to any money. You're entitled to the car. Period. End of discussion. Do you understand? My question is now, do you want, Ms. Taylor, this is your lawsuit. Do you want the car?
No.
Then your case is dismissed.
Why is that, Judge?
Because you are not entitled to the money. You fixed up the car. You're entitled to the car that she gave you. It was a gift. It was an unconditional gift. She gave it out of her heart because she wanted to give it to somebody who needed a car. You took it upon yourself to fix the car. You fixed it. You invested money in it.
But the car wasn't free. The title wasn't free. She just
It
got
is now free. Is
She
that
just
right?
got it free and clear. She didn't have it in August.
Now she has the title free and clear. Do you want the car or nothing? Do you want the car or nothing?
The car, I mean, I put money into the car. I mean...
Do you want the car or nothing?
Car.
Good. Take out the title. You'll take care of signing it over to Miss Taylor. Fine?
That's fine.
Good. Bird, have him sign over the title, please.
Okie dokie.
Perfect. Is the car at your home, Miss White?
Yes.
Okay. When do you want Miss Taylor to pick it up, or Crystal?
Anytime.
Fine. You're a doll, Miss White. You're a nice person. It was a nice gesture.
Thank you.
This case stands for the proposition that no good deed goes unpunished. That's all. Thank you.
We've heard that
That's
all
all.
week.
18-year-old Monica Vasquez claims ex-boyfriend Lendon Trujillo owes for kicking her car and smashing it with trash cans. Monica also claims Lendon destroyed her cell phone.
You are?
Lydia Calderon, Monica's mother.
Okay, but you don't know anything about this case particularly, do you?
No.
Except that the car belonged to you.
Belongs to both of us.
Are you both on the title?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down for a moment? You're Monica?
Yes.
This was your boyfriend?
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
For about 3 years.
Monica, you say that he broke your cell phone and vandalized your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't do it. So tell me when he vandalized your car.
It was like about 1:30, and he showed up at my house.
1:30
in the
on what
morning.
On what date?
July 28th.
Where were you?
I was at home.
Who else was at home?
My sister.
It was 1:30 a.m. Do you live with your sister?
Yes, I do.
What does your sister do for a living?
She works at Premier Real Estate. She's
And
a
what do you do?
receptionist.
What do you do?
I'm a cashier.
Where?
At Rite Aid.
How long have you been working there?
In October, it'll be a year.
Mr. Trujillo,
Yes.
what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a tattoo artist.
You work for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean?
I'm not working at a shop right now.
So where do you work from?
Out of my house.
Are you licensed?
No.
Do you have to be licensed where you live?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in California.
And in California, you don't need a license to give somebody a tattoo with
No,
a
you
needle?
don't.
That's a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you need a license to give somebody a pedicure,
Yeah.
but not to give somebody a tattoo.
No.
You
Not.
sure about that?
I'm positive about that.
Anyway, you make a living at this?
Yeah.
Well, especially since you have no overhead.
What's that? No. What? No. What? No.
Overhead.
Overhead. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was over my head. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Mr. Trujillo, that was true.
Right. Sorry about that.
All right, Miss Vasquez, why don't you tell me about what happened on the 28th of July?
Okay, he showed up at my house, and he knocked on my window. I came out of my room, and I went to the garage, because he went around the house. And I had told him to leave because my sister did not want him around her house.
Why did he come there?
He was...
He said you called him.
No, I did not call him.
You say in your papers, sir, that you went over to the house at 1:30 on July 28th because she called you.
Yeah, we had been talking.
No. Because she called you on July 28th. That's
Okay.
why you said you went over there, right?
Right.
And how did she call you? On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Do you have your cell phone records?
No. I'm sure if I went and got them, I could bring them back to you. I mean, if you wanted to, another
We
day
don't
or
do
something.
do-overs here, Mr. Trujillo. What we do is, when you're coming to court, you're supposed to be prepared. You know what it's like, Mr. Trujillo? You do tattooing
Yeah.
in your house.
Right.
Let's say you made an appointment with somebody who's going to get a really big tattoo. They were going to pay a whole lot of money
Yeah.
for the tattoo. And let's say they arrived and they sat down for you to do the tattoo and you forgot to buy ink.
Right. Yeah, it's happened a couple times.
That's what it's like, Mr. Trujillo, when you come here without evidence.
Yeah, I understand.
With just your good looks and tattoo. That's what happens. You're supposed to bring evidence, bring proof. So we have no proof that she called you to arrive at her house at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you went outside and you told him to disappear.
Yes.
And what happened?
And by that time, my sister had came out because she heard the knock because our rooms are right next door. And she had went out and told him to leave her house because she was going to call the
police.
Because the incident with the phone.
Oh, so the incident with the phone happened first?
Yes.
And that happened about a month before?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay, I was at work, and I get out of work at 10, and he showed up at my work, so I left.
Had you not been seeing each other?
No.
Go ahead.
And I left my work, and he followed me down the street, and he was telling me to pull over, and he was next to me in my car. And so I pulled over because he was coming closer to my car, and he had said that if I didn't pull over, he would go to my house and, like, break windows. And so I pulled over, and he had got my phone to check it for what, I don't know, we weren't together. And I was telling him to give me back my phone, and he was like, you want your phone? So he cracked it in half and gave it to me. And so...
Had he been drinking?
Yes, he had a beer in his car.
Who else was in the car?
He was by himself that night.
You got to get a job out of the house, Mr. Trujillo.
Okay.
Listen to me, sir. First, I want you to tell me who these people are that you brought with you to court today.
I brought my dad to court with me today and my brother Fabian. This is my dad, Johnny, and Fabian and Silo.
Yeah, and you all live together?
No.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my uncle.
Why?
Because my dad has recently moved, and he had moved in with someone else, and there wasn't enough room, so I actually went to live with my uncle.
And where does your brother live?
With his grandpa.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old is your brother?
19.
Who did your father move in with?
His girlfriend.
Was there a time you were all living together?
At one time, yeah.
When was the last time you lived together with your father?
About 2 months ago, I lived with my dad in Visalia.
And your brother also lived with your father?
No, no. My brother has always lived with his grandpa in Tulare.
Did you break her phone?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, tell me what happened, Mr. Trujillo.
Me and Monica had been seeing each other before this incident with the cell phone happened. We had been talking, and we had been texting each other, and she had told me that she got out of work at 10 o'clock, and that if I wanted to see her after work. And I said, okay, cool. I had the car, so I said, okay, I'll meet you at Taco Bell. So we went, and we met at Taco Bell parking lot, and we were there. Everything was fine. We were talking, hugging. Everything was cool. And then a call comes through on my phone. And when a call comes through on my phone, it was a ringtone, as, you know, the ringtones, like I know you've heard them, like the lovey-dovey ringtones, like the, you know what I mean, like the guy and girl together ringtones. You know what I'm talking about or no? Like, I mean, I could sing one. Like, I mean, I could sing one for you, if you want me to sing one. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, at the time when that had happened, we were both kind of looking at each other because I was already like, okay, you know, something's wrong, I messed up. So Monica had...
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, Monica had snatched my phone out of my hand. And when that had happened, she snatched my phone, and I reached for it back. We kind of got into an argument, a little conflict, you know what I mean? And
Who was calling you, Mr. Trujillo?
Just a friend.
Boyfriend or a girlfriend?
It was a girlfriend.
The timing was really terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't expected.
It was messed up.
Yeah, it was at the right time. So when that had happened, I was leaning up against my car, and Monica had thrown my phone at me. Well, when she had thrown my phone at me, somehow, and you can tell she has little hands. I don't know how she had both phones in her hand, but when she had thrown it at me, my phone rolled over the car, the hood of the car, and her phone hit my car and broke. However it broke, it was snapped in half, and that's basically what happened.
When he met you at Taco Bell, had you told him that you were going to be out of work at 10 o'clock?
No, he called my work around 10, and he said, I was around the corner. He goes, I'll be there right now. And I was like, I'm going home, I'm leaving. And at that point, my boss had opened the doors to let me leave earlier than everybody else, because I had told him. And when I got in my car to leave, he was already at the corner, and that's when he just followed me.
You think if I called her boss would say that they opened the door and let her out a little early?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
What's your boss's name?
David Centeno.
Give me his number.
It's my phone, and my phone is out there.
The Rite Aid number, 67816. There you go.
7816? Now, Mr. Trujillo.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When somebody tells me I tend to disbelieve everything that they say, especially when I have to get my rather sizable keister off this chair and go in the back to make a telephone call. Do you understand?
Oh, yes.
Now, I am prepared to do that.
Okay.
Unless you want to revise your version of the cell phone events.
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
Okay, so let's call Mr. David, because he doesn't have any clue that I might be calling him. He is going to tell me whether or not he let her out early because you were going to come over.
Right.
Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, is David Santano there, please? David, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Good, thank you. David, I have a question for you. I'm here trying a case with Monica Vasquez. And I want you to think back to sometime around the end of June of this year, in the evening when she was leaving. There was an incident with her boyfriend when he called the store. Do you remember that? Could you tell me what happened, please, David? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. David, you're a very, very nice man for speaking to me. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Boss is a very nice gentleman. Mr. Trujillo, I suggest you spend a little less time tattooing and piercing yourself and a little more time honing your truthful skills, sir. Honing your truthful skills. Ask your father what that means. Honing your truthful skills, sir.
Oh, okay.
Because Mr. Santano says that he remembers the evening very well. You would call the store. You said, I'm going to get down there before the store closes. They let her leave early, and they stood there to watch her get in her car and take off before you got there because she had already broken up with you, and she was afraid about what was going to happen if you got there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now I believe very little, sir, of what you're going to tell me. So now he owes you a cell phone. Now I want you to tell me what happened when he vandalized your car.
Okay, that was the night he showed up at my window.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you came out, you told him to leave. Sister came out, and you told him to leave. And I understand that there were other people with him.
His father and his brother.
Two geniuses.
Yes. And they were all drinking.
Two geniuses. Well, they can't live together, so at least they can drink together. I guess that's what family's all about. Go ahead.
And my sister had told his dad to keep him away from her house. And his dad didn't really understand what was happening because Lyndon didn't let him know about the night with the cell phone. So he didn't understand why my sister was...
I think if there wasn't a cell phone, his father wouldn't have understood. Go ahead.
So after that, my sister had told him she was going to call the cops and get a restraining order on him. And at that time, Lyndon was mad because his dad had told me, well, then I don't want her calling him or at my house. And I had said, I haven't called your son and I haven't been to your house. And at that time, Lyndon had got mad and they were drinking. So he kind of like pushed my sister. And at that time, when he got angry, my sister ran to the house to call the cops. And at that time, I had ran back to the house too because he was still mad. And he followed me to the garage door on the side of the house. And when I closed the door and locked it, I could feel him trying to open it. He just went to the front of the garage where my car was parked, and I heard a loud noise. And at that time, I had lifted the garage door up because my sister had came out, and we seen him leave the side of my car and get into his dad's car, and the two trash cans were against my car, laying against my car.
You have pictures of
Yes,
the car?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Outrageous. When did you purchase this car?
Last year in November.
Bought it yourself?
My mom helped me.
Who pays for it?
I do.
Paid the insurance too?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up next to him. You came here, you might as well stand up here.
Monica Vasquez says ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for vandalizing her car and for destroying her cell phone.
What were you doing out with your son at 1:30 in the morning?
We had went to the club.
What club?
El Presidente.
What were you doing at the club?
Dancing.
And drinking?
I was, yes.
With whom?
Females.
All different kinds?
Pretty much, yeah.
So if you were dancing and drinking with a whole bunch of females, you weren't watching what your two sons were doing?
Actually, he was on his cell phone the whole time we were there, text messaging and
back and forth, and I went to him and asked him, who you texting? And he said, Monica. So
And that's what he said to you.
yeah.
That's what he said to you, but you don't know that that's true.
No, but
if I may, Your Honor.
Yeah.
The day before the cell phone incident had occurred,
Yeah.
she came to my house, and my dad was coming up from work, and she was coming downstairs. I was walking her down to her car. And that's why I don't understand really how it could go from her being upstairs in my house and me and her being together in a relationship or working things out, and then to...
Well, were you working things out, or were you in a relationship, sir?
No, we're working things out to be in a relationship.
So what did you go there at 1:30 in the morning for?
Because we had been texting each other. We had been texting and talking to each other, and...
Did she invite you there?
Yeah, I had her on speakerphone because I was the designated driver.
Yeah, she had told him.
Yeah, she was in the car. She knew that the speakerphone wasn't on.
That her sister was asleep, the kids were gone, for him to go over there and visit to see her.
And what were you going to do?
I just sat in the car because I was drinking.
And what about him?
He was in the back seat.
So the two of you were just going to sit there in the back seat of the car,
Well,
in the
actually,
front seat
yeah.
of the car, while he went inside to visit with his girlfriend?
They didn't go inside. They stayed outside in the driveway.
Fine. So he goes over to see Monica, and how did her car get dented?
When we got there, Monica had stepped outside. She was walking towards her car. We pulled up, and she went like this, like waved us over there. We all three got out of the car, walked over. She showed us a dent on her car and said that she had got into an accident with a motorcyclist. And me and her made a few comments back and forth because I had just recently wrecked my Harley. And I had told her, you know, so anyways, we said a few statements back and forth. And then me and Fabian went back and got back in the car. They stayed there talking, hugging, kissing until Marie came outside. And Monica flipped the whole script when Marie came outside. Because she was upset.
Were you at his house the day before?
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
When you send a text message, could you save those things?
They stay for 14 days.
Huh?
You can lock them.
Save them, right?
Yes, you can.
Show me.
Your Honor, I don't have my phone with me. I don't have any proof right now, Your Honor, so it's...
Why don't you, sir?
Because I came unprepared. I came on intentions of knowing that what I know is true.
Is everything that you said just now as truthful as you went over to the store the end of June, invited by her to come over to the store?
What, to her store, Rite Aid?
Yeah.
No, I didn't go to Rite Aid.
Oh, no.
No, I said I went to Taco Bell. I drove to Taco Bell. She was at Rite Aid when we had talked on her.
Why would you think, Mr. Trujillo, that she would say to her boss, concerned, I just want to get out of here before he comes over, and the boss distinctly remembers all the employees watching her get into the car to make sure she was safe and leave?
But I wasn't in her parking lot, though.
I don't care whether you were in a parking lot or not, sir. Why do you think that boss would remember that?
Oh, yeah, no, boss, no. I'm not saying that. She got in her car, but I'm saying what I'm trying to tell you, though, is that I did not go into her parking lot.
No, what you said, Mr. Trujillo, was that you had an appointment to meet in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And that, sir, is a lie. That, sir, is a lie.
That we met in Taco Bell?
It is a lie that you had an appointment to meet at Taco Bell. Because when she heard from you, she asked her boss if she could take off because she was concerned about her safety. They all watched her leave.
Then why would she have pulled into Taco Bell if she knew that she could have got away from me?
I don't know what you were doing, sir. And I don't know what your drunken father was doing or your drunken brother was doing on the night this happened with the car. I have no clue. All I know is, sir, you lied to me once, and you also don't know the law in the jurisdiction where you live because you're required to have a license to tattoo. Sir.
Okay.
And what is your address?
My address right now?
Where you're doing the tattooing?
In a house. On
What is the address?
I don't know my address. I just know it's on Bradley Street. I've only been there like a month, 2 months, so I don't know the address. I don't get mail there.
Did you make more than 3 children or just 3?
Only 3.
Only 3. So far you got 2 losers, right? 1,
I don't consider
2.
them losers, but...
Well, so far they haven't done anything to make you proud.
Sure they have.
I don't see
I
it.
graduated high school. That made me proud.
My God. My God, that's like the 8th wonder of the world.
That's an accomplishment in this family.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
You got to do something with it once you graduate from high school.
Yes, I totally agree.
So pleased that you agree with me. I've been looking forward all year for a person of your stature to agree with me. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. That's all. Goodbye.
Store owner Daniel Alvarez is suing his customer, Carmen Burgos, for cashing a counterfeit check at his store. Carmen says she was the victim of an internet scam.
Mr.
Mr. Alvarez, what kind of store do you have, sir?
I have a general store. We sell music, we cash checks, we sell satellite. It's a little bit of everything.
The defendant was a customer of yours?
A regular customer. She had been there at least 4 or 5 occasions cashing checks.
And you charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
According to your complaint, sir, she came in with a check, which you cashed for her.
Correct.
And it turned out to be a bad check.
Yes.
And your bank withdrew the money from your account. You want her to compensate you for the check.
That is correct.
Ms. Burgos says it was a bad check. She was conned with this check, and she's sorry that you're out the money, but it's not her fault. It's the fault of the people who scammed her. That's her defense. Is that correct?
Yes,
Ms.
Your
Burgos?
Honor. I
right.
shouldn't
So
be
I
held
want you to
liable
tell
for it.
What?
I shouldn't be held liable for it because I had
Ms.
the
Burgos.
evidence. Yes.
Let's start from the beginning. Where did you get this check from?
It was mailed to me.
From an employer?
No, I'm always on the computer and I'm always filling out sweepstakes and filling out numbers for lotto and that. So when I received the check...
So you received the check because you thought you won a prize?
Yes, correct.
But she didn't tell me that, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Don't interrupt her.
I'm sorry.
Your Honor, he wasn't there at the moment.
Listen to me.
Yes.
You got a check in the mail and you didn't know where it came from.
Correct. Yes, I thought
so
it was
you thought
a
maybe
sweepstakes.
that you had played around with on the computer?
Yes, correct.
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Well, I have a copy because I gave Mr. Alvarez the original and the envelope that it came in.
Shh. Mr. Alvarez, I don't want you to interrupt her.
That's the original. That is the original. Cool.
And I also gave him the envelope it came in.
Now, this letter says that you won the North American Ballot Sweepstakes.
Correct.
And it tells you to call Debbie Baum in Canada.
Yes, Your Honor, and that's who I called.
Just for my own information, when you called her, what is it that you claim she said to you?
Well, I called her because at first I, like...
Joe, tell me. Just answer my question.
I asked her about that I had received a check for a sweepstake for the sum of $2,900. And she told me yes, and I told her what it says here for processing. She goes, oh, no, that's no problem. You could go ahead and change. That's part of what you have won. There's 72 people that are in with it.
I read the letter. There's 72 people that are going to share in $1.8 million.
Right, and that's just the beginning of it, so you could go ahead and cash it.
Cash
so
it.
that's right.
Fine.
I went to
Do you have a
Mr.
copy of the check?
Yes, I have
I'd
the
like
original.
to see it. Oh, you have the original?
Yes.
Love
the
to
bank
see it.
returned it to me.
Love to see it. Shh. So you took the check into him?
Yes, correct.
To cash?
Yes. Like I've taken other checks.
State Employees Credit Union of Maryland, Inc. Well, I have to tell you, this certainly looks like, to my untrained eye, an official kind of check.
Correct. That's why I went to him and I cashed it.
Miss Burgos, I got it. You thought you woke up and it was your lucky day?
Yes, correct.
Bird, take a look at this. An interesting looking check? Right?
Oh, it even says official check.
It even says
Correct.
official
That's
check.
why I never-
And, just a minute, and they don't even ask you to do anything, like
Correct.
send them
That's
back
why-
half in this letter.
That's why I was like...
Don't, I'm speaking. Don't bother me. They don't even ask you to send back half. You know, sometimes say, send us $500 as a processing fee, and they just said, here's your $2,900.
Does it the back?
Yeah, she signed it, and it came back that it was suspected counterfeit. In any event, you gave her the money.
Yes, I did.
You have proof of that?
Just from the bank when they took the money out because...
I'd like to see it. Now, when you were notified by the bank,
Right.
yeah, they charged your account for $2,950.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did you cash the check for her? On what date?
Around the 14th of November.
And the bank returned the check to you when?
They didn't return it until the 20th or 21st, but they notified me 2 days later. First,
So
they
on the
notified me.
16th.
Correct.
And when did you
I'm sorry, Your Honor,
notify?
it was after that.
Stop talking out! This is not a tea party! Now, when did you notify Miss Burgos?
That same day.
On the 16th,
Exactly.
2 days later.
Exactly.
How did you notify her?
I called her son-in-law because I know her son-in-law very well, and I called him up and I asked him to bring her over.
And when did he bring her over?
That same day.
On the 16th?
Exactly.
Okay, now tell me on the 16th what you said to her and what she
I
said.
told her, Miss Burgos, this check has returned counterfeit from the bank.
And she said to you?
I didn't know, and she produced this letter.
Good.
Correct. I said I
Just,
didn't know.
So why didn't you return the money to him?
At the moment, I didn't have the money. I had paid some of debts that I had.
Just a second. What difference does that make to him? Put your hand down. First of all, it's 2 days later.
It's not 2 days later, Your Honor. It was more than 2 days
How
later.
many days?
It was about 4 or 5 days later.
4 days. Show me what debts you paid.
Well, I had some medical bills that I had to pay, so I went.
Just a second. So you paid your medical bills.
Sure.
Medical bills. What else? What else did you pay?
My electric bill, my phone bill, all my bills, and I.
Now let me ask you this question, Ms. Burgos. Before you came into this cash windfall, how did you pay your electric bill?
Well, I would pay it monthly.
From what?
From what I receive, and also.
What do you
my
mean from what you
children's-
receive? I don't understand that statement. Do you work?
Well, I get a Social Security check every month.
For what?
For disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
For asthma, arthritis.
You have asthma and arthritis and you can't work?
No.
I know a lot of people who have asthma and arthritis who can work just fine.
I had problems. I was diagnosed with disability. So
Wait, just a second. When were you diagnosed with a disability from asthma and arthritis?
2 years ago.
Ms. Burgos, I'm believing less and less of what you tell me, madam, but I will tell you this. If you paid your bills, which you are responsible for paying, your medical bills, your electric bill, your phone bill, and I don't care what other kind of bills you paid, allegedly, and I know you're lying. Listen to me, and I know you're lying anyway.
No, I bought
Listen
a few
to me.
Christmas
Listen to me
presents,
very
yes.
carefully, and I know you're lying anyway. Then you have to pay him back the money.
Correct.
You paid your bills. You paid your bills. You're a scammer.
She told me
Let me
right
ask you this question. Who do you live with?
I live with my son and my daughter.
How old are they?
My daughter's 22 and my son is 19.
And what does your daughter do for a living?
She works. And my son
And your
also.
son?
He works.
Works.
They're the ones that help me with all the bills.
Because you don't work?
Yes.
Because of your asthma?
Yes.
She didn't tell me that. That day when she came in, she told me that she had only spent about $500 to $700
No, I told you that's
of
what
the
I
money.
had.
Miss Burgos!
I had $500
Miss
to
Burgos!
$700.
I asked her specifically.
That's what I told him I had.
Did you give it to him?
No,
Just
because he told me.
Shh. So why did you spend that money instead of giving it back to him?
Well, I didn't have it on me at that time.
Why didn't you go home and get it?
The gentleman told me, Mr. Alvarez told me that he was going to send that letter, the letter from that they had
That is
received
not
to
true.
the bank. Yes, it is, Mr. Alvarez.
Just
that
a second.
he was going
So
to take
what?
that
If
letter
there's a
to
question,
the
listen
bank.
to me. If there's a question, why didn't you say, listen, if there's a question and if this check was bad, I don't want Mr. Alvarez to be out the rest of this money. I'm going to hold what I haven't spent and give it to him if he's out of pocket.
Well, I had held it. I had it.
So
and
why
when-
didn't you give it to him?
Because when I spoke to Mr. Alvarez on the phone, I told him I have the $500. He says, no, I want all the money. That's what he said.
That is
and I
true?
says, well, I don't have all the money at the moment, okay? I could give you at least $500 at a time. He said, no, I want all the money at the same
You want to know
time.
something? You're a scammer.
It was-
You've been scamming
no.
Social Security in all probability for the
No,
last
I
2
haven't.
years.
I
I don't know
haven't.
how you got Social Security disability. How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. I know people who are 67 with asthma, they work.
No, I am disabled.
You must have had a
It was-
really, really fine lawyer. You owe him $2,950, Miss Burgos. You're a scammer, and you knew you did the wrong thing as soon as he told you that that check came back.
Yes. I'm
People very rarely get windfalls of money from the internet. Very rarely.
not a
Don't look like this to me.
I'm
I
not a
don't
scammer
know.
because
I don't know
that
how I
letter
got
had
Social
said-
Security disability. I don't know where I got this check from. I don't know. Well, now you know that this man who was doing you a favor cashed your check and got penalized because of your stupidity. He got penalized. But you said, listen, I got the money. Let him go after the people.
I
Let him
told
go
her
after.
not to
I'm
spend the money.
speaking.
No, I didn't.
Let
tell
him go
I
after
didn't
the
think
people.
That way. I did not think that way.
Well, then
I
you
did
should
not
have
think
returned
that
the
way.
money that you hadn't spent.
Okay, I did not. He didn't want the money that I had not spent.
So you spent
All
the
he
rest.
said-
Just a
no,
second. Hey,
I still have the $500.
Supposed to set an example, Miss Burgos, for your children. You're not supposed to be a scammer.
I'm not
And
a scammer.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you believed in getting something for nothing.
No, I
And
have
you
never
put him in a
believed
very
that getting
precarious
nothing for
position.
nothing.
You've got a lot of nerve.
I have never.
You've got a
believed
lot
that
of
I would
nerve.
get
Your children
something for
should
nothing.
not. Your children are not going to be proud of you after today. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $29.50. That's all. Step out.
Jason Massey claims next-door neighbor Sandra Moten damaged his SUV when she backed out of her driveway.
Mr. Massey, you and the defendant share a common driveway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, on the 30th of October, you were watching out the window, of your house and you saw the defendant backing out of her driveway, your car was parked there, and she hit your car with the mirror of her car. Is that right?
That's correct.
What time of the day was this?
4 in the afternoon.
And you and the defendant have had difficulties in the past. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you lived in your house?
I purchased my house in May of 2001.
And how long have you lived there?
1989.
What was the problem, Mr. Massey?
When I purchased my house in May of 2001, the lady I purchased my house from warned me that they
Don't
had...
tell me what they warned you. That's hearsay.
Yes, ma'am. The problem, Your Honor, before my truck was hit, 5 weeks in a row, when I came home from work, my trash can was knocked over. I came home one day, I picked my trash can up. My neighbor, Mrs. Moulton, came home and turned my trash can over again. I asked her why she turned my trash can over for the last 5 weeks. She said it was in her way. On Sunday, October the 28th, I had been outside in the front working on a home project. The defendant came home. We had a few words. I went in.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
The defendant came home that day and she said that I had some chairs on the fence. She asked me to move them. I went around back. I moved the chairs off the fence. When I came back, I was standing there looking out of the front door. My neighbor, Mrs. Moulton, got in her car. She was backing out. She got close to my truck. She didn't hit it. She pulled forward.
Well, that's the same day. You
Right.
said that was on the 28th or the 30th?
On the 30th.
And Ms. Moulton, you say you did not do that.
Yes, that is correct.
But Mr. Massey, you say you have a video that shows that she did.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it. Did you know he had a video, Ms. Moulton?
From the officer indicated he had a video that around about 9:30 when the officer came to my home.
That is you getting into your car, is it not, Ms. Moulton?
Yes, it is.
Are you watching that very carefully, Bert?
Yes, I am.
Did you see the car hit it?
I really can't say, Judge.
Could we do it again, please?
I can show you, Your Honor, right when the car hit.
I would like you to do that, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, Your Honor, she hits my truck. Her mirror, you can see her mirror go under my mirror, and it hits my truck. I have some pictures of the damage of her car.
Can I see it, please?
And the damage of my car.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, sir. This is an existing scratch on my truck. These are pictures of the damage that she done to my car. And this is where her mirror scraped my truck.
Says this line is an existing scratch already on his truck, and the rest is where that line.
This
up
line?
There, that line up there is where.
Put on her mirror.
Right.
Show the camera, please. Miss Moulton, what I don't understand is, why did you pull forward again? You were clear of his car.
Oh, I put forward because I was trying to make sure I didn't hit his vehicle.
Miss Moulton, you were practically clear of his vehicle, and then you pulled forward, and you steered right into it.
But that's what it looked like. But
Well, that's
my
what it
way-
looked like. If
right.
my eyes weren't deceiving me, that's what it looked like.
Judge Judy, when I poured, we have parking spaces that are pretty tight over there where I am. So when I pulled out, I was pulling out and doing the best that I could to prevent from hitting his vehicle. I still say that I did not strike his vehicle.
You did.
Okay.
You did. But I don't understand why you were pulling out, and you were practically clear of it.
Well, I
And
pulled
then you
out because-
pulled back. You pulled forward again, and you came that close to his car the second time. I don't understand that.
Well, I understand it because I was pulling out from my observation of it as far as me backing out. I was backing out to keep from, because you, from looking
Play
at
that
the
again
video.
for me, please. I want to look at it
Please,
one
from
more
looking
time.
at
Is that a
the-
possibility?
Yeah, looking at the video, it does look that way, but as far as the way
Well,
the
the
vehicle
video
is
doesn't
parked-
lie, Miss Moulton.
Well, I'm not saying the video is lying. I'm just saying I didn't strike his vehicle. I didn't do that.
You did.
See, my damage was on my car. That damage she's saying I put has been there on my vehicle.
Okay, now, you're clear.
From that, it looks clear, but
you were clear the first time you pulled out. You were clear. Then you come back and you go right into his car.
Well, it looks like I went into his car, but
Well, it looks exactly like you went into
Yeah,
his car,
but
madam, and that's what you did. Can I please see the estimate to have it fixed?
Yes, ma'am. I have two estimates, Your Honor.
Well, how much was the cheapest estimate?
$627, if I'm not mistaken. And I have a rental car reimbursement, and it should be in that stack also.
Well, I'm not paying you for a rental car, sir. Are you his wife?
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
Drive him around for a day while he has this car fixed. Listen, life is very, very short. You're going to be neighbors for a while. I'm going to suggest that you can either be miserable for the next 20 years or happy for the next 20 years. Unfortunately, you have a very tight driveway. Maybe you can get together and say, listen, I'm going to go into my lawn a little bit and take another foot, make cement out of it, and on the other side we'll do the same thing so we have a little bit more latitude getting in and out. Can you do that?
Well, it has already been done as far as on his side. The previous owners did